Draft scene. We should be unmuted. Hello and welcome to the for Sun Leviathan versus MYNT Gaming. It should be an exciting match. I'm Alba Trombone coming here with Alba Potato, ready for an exciting match in the Tarkov division.
Yeah, we're now in week 3 of playoffs, so things are definitely getting underway. And these are two teams that have been around the amateur circuit a little bit here and there. I know Stolen Leviathan are a team that has some bants going for sure. So we'll see if they can live up to their hype tonight. Mint Gaming is actually the higher seeded team, so should be up for a bit of a challenge. But looks like both teams are ready to start jumping into draft.
Yeah, coming in with the Zac band pretty hot. We'll have to see if Sun Leviathan's going to be going for a Maokai at all. I know there are some changes, so he's a little bit weaker, so he might not be prio picked. We might actually see a jungle game without Maokai in it game one, which will be a bit of a mix up for us to go through possibly here. And a Rek'Sai ban, that's not something you necessarily see too often here.
Yeah, maybe not in a regular game, but F.E. Myers is certainly a Rek'Sai enjoyer. This person has played 208 games of Rek'Sai last season, with the next closest jungler being King at 24. So certainly their most comfort pick by a lot shot. And it looks like Son of Leviathan actually just hard targeting Myers here in the jungle. 3 junglers banned out already, Mint Gaming spreading out their bans a little bit more, and Sun's going to pick up Annie as their support pick of choice, something that we've seen come into the meta a little bit more lately, and also a pickup for Toadstep, who has been running that a lot this season to good success, at least in solo queue.
Yeah, Annie's a pretty strong mid laner right now, able to secure some CC, some decent burst damage to really pop some of these carries, or just kind of peel people away. Tibbers is very strong. There's a little bit of nerfs coming up for Annie, so she'll be a little bit weaker than you would normally expect. She's still fairly strong with all of that in mind. And we're probably going to be seeing a lot of healing in the bot lane here. Should this be a Seraphine Senna, which is pretty probable, unless Seraphine ends up going mid at all.
Yeah, in theory, flexible, but it is looking most likely to be the bot lane here of choice going to be secured in R1, R2. And yeah, Annie, after those E changes, just it's able to reflect damage. It gives you a bunch of move speed. It gives you a good amount of shielding. It's kind of like Lulu Shield, Karma Shield all in one with some damage on the side. So definitely a very impactful ability. And that's before even considering the CC setup. Looks like Diana is going to be the next pick locked in potentially. Yes, it is locked. So that's someone can go mid, can go jungle, can certainly clear very fast in the jungle if they elect to do so, but can certainly be a bit of a potent mid laner as well. I'm assuming this is probably going over to Spies in the jungle is their most played this season, or last season rather, and can be a very impactful pick if they are allowed to get going.
Yeah, it's a very good combo piece. Should they have had like a Yasuo? Probably not going to be happening unless this is going to be an Annie support to pair with the Zeri. Something entirely possible, but I would expect it in the mid lane. Diana's peel is pretty big, and both sides here have picked a lot of AP, so we might be seeing a lot more AD picks on the other sides for both teams, or possibly in bans as well, just trying to peel for them and get them set up.
Yeah, a lot of AP, but
Hmm,
Zeri certainly does provide enough AD for a good chunk of the team comment. It does
yeah.
look like so far Sun is going more with player comfort and things that they've seen a lot of success on. All 3 of these champions are champions that they've demonstrated a lot of play with in solo queue either this season or last season. Macro Beast from Plat Worlds, I was obligated to say, has been running a ton of Zeri both this season and lately. And it looks like Kane is actually going to be the R3 answer for Mint Gaming here, most likely going to be the jungle match answer into the Diana here as we start jumping into second round bans. Not surprised to see Jax taken off the table. Casson, these are some of the
Yeah.
champions that certainly have been very impactful lately.
Yeah, and with that Kassadin ban, it looks like Mint Gaming is expecting that Annie's going to be a support here because you don't really see Kassadin anywhere else other than mid lane and maybe once in a blue moon in the top lane should they have the matchup for it. But with Sun Leviathan not having the counter pick here, and they're going to have to double pick after Mint Gaming picks something, they're probably not going to be able to get such an easy lineup it's probably going to be counterpick in the top side for Mint, being top lanes matchups are a lot more important than in some of these other lanes where you can play a little bit more safe or you have a little buddy to help you out.
Yeah, I'm also curious which form of Kane we're going to be seeing this game, and I was also going to mention whether we're going to see any bruisers, as Senna Seraphine, this kind of bot lane is very, very good at enabling sort of beefy damage dealers, people like the Jax, people like the Kled, who can jump
Yeah.
in and kind of wreak havoc on the enemy team. And Kane, Kled, these are champions that certainly thematically fit that. There's a lot of sustain coming out here, can make for a very, very strong extended brawly team fight. So we'll see what Sun will try and do in response to that. I mean, Zeri certainly is a champion that can dish out copious amounts of DPS, but usually does get paired with some manner of enchanter support. Annie doesn't fulfill that role so much, at least from a classical sense. But we see Poppy as the answer, perhaps as the answer into Kled is able to interrupt some of those dashes, maybe help stabilize the top lane a little bit up there. And we'll see what each team is going to round out their comp with. Ooh,
Lulu with Zeri, the classic. It's a great combination. The shield enabling a lot of Zeri's shenanigans, enabling a lot of her kit, and just going to be able to play this out. And of course, shields is going to really help out some of this poke. Shields tend to be a little bit larger than some of the sustain, so that might help favor Zeri in some of these trades as well. Just a note, Poppy and Kane, their interactions are a little weird based on how the walls work, and it's going to be a little bit hard to predict on how those go because there might be a little bit of spaghetti code coming in, just kind of hard to manage from a coding perspective and kind of a gameplay as well.
yeah, I guess we'll see if Riot is able to sort out their pasta tonight. But yeah, maybe this Annie pick kind of debating all of us, or at least me, because I certainly like the Lulu coming here as the fifth pick on blue side, a much better pairing with Zeri, in my opinion. And also, just looking over on the side of Mint, it can be perhaps a little bit difficult for people to get through this Zeri. I mean, you start stacking Annie shield, Lulu shield, Bloodthirster
Mm-hmm.
shield, the shield steal. That's gonna be one very durable champion that can put out a lot of damage. So we'll see if Macro Beast can deliver on this performance, because my eyes are certainly going to be on this AD carry player to see how these team fights will be shaking out.
Yeah, some Leviathan isn't going to be short on any damage with Annie and Leviathan, but Zarya can also pump out the damage, and it can be fairly slippery, so they might be able to escape some of these Kane ganks or these Kled dives. With Mint's gaming primary strategy, probably going to be diving or getting some sort of a pick here, Rise getting in his nice teleport, or Kled just running you down. That's going to be their allies deep into the enemy territory, which is just going to extend some of Seraphine's ultimate as well, which might be enough to pick out Zeri.
Yeah, I mean, Leviathan's team comp definitely wants to get things started with the Annie Diana, right? If you can combo a lot of champions there, it will be good news for you. And Zeri is there for the extended. Mint, they're possibly able to survive that initial engage with the kind of champions they've been able to pick, but I'm looking at a team that can come in from a lot of different angles. I mean, you got the Kled engage, Kane over walls, Rice teleporting everywhere. So Leviathan's going to have to keep their eyes peeled for where the threats can possibly come from. And if Mint is able to execute on that, pick out one or two crucial members of some Leviathan, it can be rather difficult for them to close out the rest of the team fight.
For sure, especially considering the fact Lulu only has one polymorph and there's several champions that could be threatening on the side of Mint Gaming. And Poppy can slam a character or two, but if you're eating up all your CC just trying to peel stuff off, something might slip through and get some of your damage, which is enough to change some of these team fights. Vision is going to be very important for how these comps want to be playing, whether they want to be setting up for objectives, kind of like what Sun Leviathan probably wants to be doing here, or Mint trying to get some picks, making sure they're in the darkness, ready to pounce on their enemies on Sun Leviathan.
Oh, absolutely. And either way, I mean, we've got two team comps that promise to be pretty explosive whenever the fights get started, and that is something that we love to see as viewers. Some exciting team fighting. So it looks like the teams are going to be locking in their last few picks. We're probably going to jump to a commercial break for just a moment here as we wait out the client delay and the end of the draft. But hope to see all of you around for what should be an exciting game one.
Yeah, should be an exciting game one. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back into game one into a best of three versus Mint Gaming and Sun Leviathan. I'm Abba Trombone here with All Out Potato watching a standard 5 point in this early part of the game.
Yeah, neither team having the most incredible level one, so just spreading out for a bit of safety here. But already some interesting things coming out on this level one. We got both Kled and Zeri here, starting with a Cole. So looking to just get a bit of gold advantage here with these early items. We also see it is Kane taking the Dark Harvest here and the Red Smite. So most likely actually going to go blue Kane this time around, looking for that hyper mobility, that assassination potential against some of these priority targets on some Leviathan.
Yeah, just being able to scale here with the Cull, kind of important, especially because you can't necessarily go in as Kled this early on at all, is important.
Yeah, and this Zeri Lulus and a Seraphine lane,
Yeah.
rather unlikely that one side's going to be killing the other straight away. But it looks like Inigo Montoya's trying to get some early trading here onto Malachor, just getting some of that bush advantage. Few autos exchanged on both sides as the teams will be heading over to their lanes. We also do see the junglers starting on opposite sides of the map here. FBM Myers opting to path down this time around, whereas Spies is going to be pathing up towards their own top laner.
Yeah, split map here. We'll have to see if they try and do some vertical jungling with the invading. Being Myers is pretty good as Kane trying to invade, but Diana's clear speed is probably going to be a little bit faster here, which means that might not be the case, and we'll be playing for opposite ends of the map. Nigo
Yeah,
leveraging the Scarl health here in those early trades, trying to force out some of those scorching pots early on.
yeah, most certainly. And Poppy's trading actually definitely not a slouch early on in the game either. Some of those autos are starting to hurt a little bit. And I mentioned the jungle clear earlier. Kane certainly is a champion that can clear pretty quickly, but Diana is one of the fastest clearers in the game. It looks like already looking for a bit of an early gank here onto macro step. Just going to farm a soul or two on the path towards their bot side. We'll call that efficient pathing while picking
Yeah,
up a couple souls.
don't mind if I do. Picking up some free souls. Oh, so Bingo is getting a little chunked out here, kind of forcing his wave. And oh, could this be first
Yeah,
blood?
heavier trading in the top side too. Inigo Montoya is
Oh,
not going to get the remount from Scarl. So this Poppy actually putting the hurt here onto the Kled. The Cold Start maybe hurting a little bit more in terms of the sustain department than they want to have, or perhaps just taking a few slightly suboptimal trades. Either way, Poppy with this 1-0 start is going to be pretty happy here at the top lane.
yeah, corrupting pots doing a lot of work there. Extra sustain, a little extra damage, and cull meaning you're not going to have as much HP as if you would have like a Dorian blade, and you're going to be a little bit lacking in some of that all-in potential because of that. Giving first kill to Sun Leviathan.
Yeah, the health differential is certainly very significant. It's 300 health that you're effectively getting with Corrupting Pot, and we did see all three stacks used. You're missing around 80 health or so by foregoing a Doran's item, so 380 health differential at level 1's very, very massive, actually. And we do see Spies just taking a quick visit to the top lane, making sure that the wave gets to fully crash into the tower here while Malachor takes their base. Inigo Montoyos, at the very least, didn't have to miss too many minions off their death here, so is going to be able to largely farm back up to parity. But still, Poppy's going to be sitting happy here, already picking up the Bomby Sender, going to be
Ooh.
offering themselves a little bit more wave clear as well as dueling potential.
Yeah, tanks are starting to go with a first item. Oh, where are we going to be going in here? Toad Step having to flash out.
Yeah, Myers trying to farm a few more souls here, maybe with a quick gank to the bot lane, but not able to find too much. Is able to burn both flashes from the Sun Leviathan bot lane, though, so that is certainly a pickup that they would love to have. Now going to start taking their base, get on towards their second clear here, trying to accelerate their way to form as soon as they can.
Yeah, trying to accelerate that for sure. As I was trying to say, Sunfire is tending to be a first item, trying to get a little bit more wave clear on some of these tanks has been a priority, and just going for a mythic second item, which is probably what Melkavy is trying to do in this game on Poppy.
Yeah, absolutely. Having the ability to do that wave control, pick up minions better under tower, and all of those small bonuses can certainly start to stack up here. And overall, Generally, a pretty quiet early game here, and that's largely what we expect. Overall, these lanes are not going to be too explosive. A bit of a farming lane down bottom. We got a tanky bruiser matchup here, and two junglers that like to clear rather than gank kind of early on. So, not too surprised at what we're seeing so far.
Yeah, slowly steady goes the pace. Effie
Yeah.
Myers might get caught out here.
Yeah, looking for another gank, but going
Ooh,
straight into Macro Step, who has hit level
Tibbers.
6, so just drops Tippers on their face. A bit of an overstep here in the mid lane for the King, just level 4 there, looking for a cheeky ability or two, but do have to respect the anti-ultimate coming out there, and does pay their
Yeah.
life as a result.
The Flash Tibbers securing a kill on Effie Myers, being down your jungle, means your farm is going to be a little bit behind versus the enemy jungler. You're going to be down a little bit more gold. And of course, we've seen how devastating Annie can be, being the pyromaniac she is, trying to burn down the enemy nexus. It's going to be a little bit early for that, but this extra pressure and with the wave going in means that TP is going to be forced out on the side of Bingo.
Yeah, I mean, we talked before about how Mint wants to maybe run a bit more of a bruisery team comp and survive this initial burst, but should Annie be able to find consistent leads, that plan can certainly be thrown out the window as you just sort of melt the entirety of the enemy team off the
Especially with a
back of
Dark
one
Seal.
ultimate. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So they're looking to maybe snowball a little bit more here, but is able to pick up the lost chapter as well, getting accelerated on their way towards the Mythic. Looks like the junglers are going to briefly see each other there on the top side, but just otherwise continue their clear as normal. Diana here picking up a pretty healthy clear advantage over the Kank early on, and maybe looking for a little bit top side here. Kled is getting somewhat close to a remount, just needs a couple of autos, so we'll see if they do end up going for it. Yes, they do. Needs one more auto for the remount. Not going to get it. Malachor charges in, picks up the 2-0 lead here up top. FV Myers stuck just clearing red, isn't able to offer assistance in the current state.
A good setup. That gold lead earlier doing a lot and just being able to chunk stuff out with the corrupting pot is all they need to get some of these lanes pushed and chunk out Inigo just enough to set up some of these dive plays.
Yeah, Poppy with the passive autos with the percent health on Q, able to just consistently wear down Inigo bit by bit. And Kled is a champion that doesn't really have any options in form of sustain there in the top lane. So any damage that comes out will end up sticking. There is no shielding, there is no healing they're going to be able to get. So as they get lower and lower, I mean, we have the nice pathing from Spies to just pick up that kill easy as you please. 2-0 lead in the top lane here, and perhaps going to be continuously extended. Nico at least able to drop a bit of a ward here on this top side, potentially spot out any future ganks that might come on by.
Yeah, a good word trying to catch stuff out so he knows if things are going to be safe or not. You know, if a tower is going to be dove, so he can just walk away and play safe, or, you know, just go full Kled mode here and just all in as the champion just kind of wants to do.
Absolutely. And I guess the good news here for Mint is that the gold lead here, not too much just yet in the early game, and is spread out a little bit across the map as we see Inigo here getting a bit of a more favorable trade for the moment on the top lane. Is going to get dismounted, but he's going to start autoing there as Malachor gets briefly stuck against the wall. Bit of a minion block action coming in through there, but might gradually start to find a way to come back here in the lane. Does get the remount.
Ooh,
Maybe
the
going to look to
remount.
grass right again. Yes, but the bear trap on a rope, not going to stick there on the poppies. That's going to be the end of that sequence.
Yeah. Bingo's a little low on mana here, and with the wave crashing in, that's going to be a difficult reset to do. It's going to be favoring macro step, certainly living up to the name. A lot of farm leads we're seeing. The call's almost completed on macro beast at this point at 9 minutes and 30 seconds of the game, so very well done.
Yeah, and Clyde just ulting straight into the Poppy, but Poppy doesn't seem to mind too much at all. Just simply presses W and saunters their way away, but Spies is not sauntering. Spies is flashing forward for an engagement. Nice counter flashes from the Min bot lane. Amox and Bots Maven able to make their way out there. And now FE Myers will find Toadstep. The Rise ult Realm Warp
TP.
also coming in here, trying to find the chase. Some trading there on the top side as well. So action all across the rift, but on the bot side is where the team fight is going to be. The Seraphine ult is not going to land. The Lulu ult invested as well, and there comes Zeri ulted in. Will they be able to find the rest of the team fight? Running forward, always forward here is Macro Beast, but both sides looking to perhaps peel back for a little bit. Seems like they are maybe a little bit low on damage now. Cleanse burn, and ultimately does look like everyone is able to run away from this alive. But Macro Step is coming down, trying to find Bingo here on the rise. Flash is forced, follow Flash,
The
but the
blast
Blast Cone
cone.
helps save them. Their Dragon is going to be Leviathan's reward for that sequence of plays, but no kills going over to either side.
Yeah, no kills going over, but some important summoners were used. Macro Beast having to use Cleanse there, and several flashes having to be used on the side of Mint, notably on Amox and Bots Maven. When you're not very vulnerable, or when you're so vulnerable, not very mobile, you're going to be, you know, a lot of burst from macro or some of these other champions is going to be enough to execute you. So you're going to have to be a little bit more careful. And here we see, no hesitation to be aggressive with the flash tibbers in mid lane, and of course the flash ulti on Diana.
Yeah, no hesitation indeed. And Flash actually expended from Macro Beast as well off of the back of a nice center route from Boss Maven. But with a lot of these flashes down in the bot lane, all four champions actually missing them, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a regain coming in sometime soon, especially from this Diana with the ultimate play available. Can be a setup. Maybe Macro Step is going to roam in, try and find a four-man bot, something similar in the next few minutes, see if they can take advantage of that cooldown. But mid laner is trading very heavily, and now Bingo is trying to run into Macro Step,
Phase
does get
rush.
the finish there. So picking up a trade back onto the mid lane. Solo Bolo here is Bingo on the rise, finding Macro Step on the trade.
Yeah, Murktread's really helping out there in the phase rush, just being able to run it down. Macro beasts, Annie, you're going to be a little bit more constrained in the range for some casters. You're not going to have as much comfortability as you'd say on a Lux, which means you're going to be a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah, and Bingo here is going a pretty durable build. You got the Merc Treads coming in, you got Rod of Ages that is starting to be built here, you've got the Seraphs that's going to eventually be available, and all of that means that it's going to be rather difficult for Annie to find the finishing power needed on the Rise. And once all those abilities are down, once your rotation is over, Rise is free to machine gun you down as you see fit. But hold that thought, Toad Step now going for a ward clear, but potentially is going to caught out Amos with the double root on the Seraphine, but the center root does not land. And here's the lightning crash in response from Macro Beast. Exhaust expended in. Can this Zeri find what they need to finish it out? There's the Encore, the charm coming through the Lulu ulti, trying to keep them alive. There's the barrier from Macro Beast in response, but Bingo is here. Macro Beast does find the kill. Bingo does not find the response. Evie Myers trying to save Inigo Montoyas. The remount is good. Malachor now running for their lives. Kled charging in, forcing the flash from Malachor. A lot of action once again on both sides of the rift, but it is Sun Leviathan once again coming out with the advantage. So close are these fights.
Yeah, the team has been a little bit more fluid in the side of Sun Leviathan, really engaging on how these rotations are going to be, getting some of that lane priority so that they can move forward. That was a good attempt on the side of Mint Gaming there. The Amux ulti just coming out, trying to charm everyone and really get things secured, almost getting Macro Beast, whose cleanse was down. If they're going to go down, that was going to be the time. But with a shield bow at this point, it's very difficult to get them. The extra shield not only giving you extra health, but Zeri, just like shields in general, enabling their kit just a little bit more.
Yeah, and we see some of the difficulty of the finishing power from this Mint Gaming bot lane. You can't offer a lot of sustain for the team, but even with all of those abilities landing in a probably 10 to 15-second extended sequence, just unable to find the kill on Macro Beast. You have those Lulu shields coming in, you got Guardian coming in, you got Wild Growth, you got Zeri's Shield Steal, you got Shield Bow. And just there's not the consistent damage you need in order to get through all of those tools. And Macro Beast is able to do sort of however they want in these team fights as they come out, getting caught or no. It looks like both teams now going to take a reset. We do have the second dragon of the game coming up in just over a minute, likely going to be a target for these two teams. Maybe we'll see first big team fight of the game.
Yeah, laning phase is over because we've hit the 14-minute mark. Although there's a lot of fighting still happening in top lane. Yeah,
Oh, Oh yeah, these two top laners are certainly happy to continue trading with each other. Malachor still just on this Poppy, just refusing to take damage. Sunfire is completed, Tamize is completed as well, and Nico Montoya's here just slowly getting chipped down, making it very hard to find any kind of inroads onto just the stone wall of a Poppy here in this top lane.
Yeah, despite dying twice, it's only down 20 farm, which is actually pretty good if you're in a bad matchup. Being down 20 farm is exactly where you want to be, and Black Cleaver is going to be able to help cut through some of these beefier champions and get some of that damage we were talking about on some of these characters where they need to be able to burst them down or shoot them down, especially while we're waiting for Myers to get some of their early assassination items. It looks like they're going to be going for Blue Cane.
Yeah, absolutely. And Myers looking for a gank here. Dawning Shadow invested in the mid lane, but Macro Step just able to casually walk away. And that Senna ulti is a big cooldown, over 2 minutes at this point in the game. So not going to be available for any dragon fight that should happen if it is to happen in the next few moments here. Nigo Montoya is getting dismounted and absolutely getting crushed by Encore. But here's the Realm War, but the Diana is there in the bush as a response. A great Encore hits too, but the cleanse from Macro Beast is good. Spies investing all the resources they can to stay alive here. Bingo maybe looking for a little bit more of a trade into Toast. That Macro Beast forced to flash away, but there's Annie on the backside. Vita Tibbers coming and picking up one, but going down in response. Macro Beast looking to chase a little bit more. One more auto to Bingo, does fall to the burn, and now one more onto Amox, is able to pick that one up as well. A clean ace across the map. 4 members going down in the bot side, and the top lane 1v1 kill. A huge advantage coming out here for Sun Leviathan.
Yeah, a huge advantage for sure, winning with an ace. Although I'll have to hold my thought here. Nuka Montoya is
Yeah,
trying to get on the
Kled
Toad
looking
step.
to get one back in trade, does manage to find it, and now flashing forward for Spice. Bear Trap on the rope, is able to pull it, pulls Diana away from the dragon, trying to use the jump over to survive, but is
That's
not able
two.
to. A nice ultimate pickup here, finding 2 kills on the backside, getting a little bit of much needed gold back, and potentially getting this dragon as well. That could be 5 minutes stalling from Soul, some crucial time needed for Ment to make their way back in the game.
Yeah, don't forget about the amount of healing you get with a Seraphine, a Senna, and we can't forget that Kled is going to be having a little bit too with his passive trying to mount back on Scarl. I believe that counts as well, especially with any shielding we might be seeing on some of these kits as well. That earlier ace came from that leads on the top side, of course, and then there's just that gold advantage sitting here. We're already at 5,000 roughly at 17, 18 minutes, and that's going to make it a lot harder to engage in some of these team fights, especially when Sun Leviathan has already hit some of their earlier spikes hitting their mythics, but we haven't necessarily seen that on some of these other champions. Bots does have their ward clearing item, Umbral Glaive, but that's not going to be quite as strong as some of these other items that the enemy team has.
Yeah, not quite as strong indeed. And, we see Mint trying to find these plays, trying to find the finish against the members of Sun Leviathan. That bot lane play started largely as a 3v4. Annie arrived quite late into the fight, but it seems that Leviathan just consistently had the tools needed to survive. And now Inigo is going to get run down again. Malachor here charging in, picking up another play, but here's the counter play in the top lane. Finally going to catch down Toe Step. The lightning crash from the Zeri is out. No summoners available for this Zeri, but the jump over the wall is going to take them to safety. TP extended as Poppy joins the fight in the bot lane to ward off, but the fight is already disengaged here. Looks like they're unlikely to find any more. No charge is going to be found against the wall. Diana looking to push in that mid lane tower, getting very low. 3 members rotating over, is going to find Macro Step here on the Annie, caught out. Tibbers not going to find the kill onto the Kane, but there is Malachor, the flash stun against the wall, unstoppable now on this Poppy, and Spice is aggressing. 1, 2, rushing forward on the Diana, taking down the Rise there. Malachor getting rooted up, but it is just Senna Seraphine left, not in any world enough damage to take down this Poppy. 5-0 now on this bot, on this top laner. A very scrappy fight once more, and it looks like they might be calling to turn onto Baron. Oh no, it is the Rift Herald. Never mind. Game is
Yeah,
not advanced quite enough as it feels like it might be, with the amount of fighting that's been going on. Nigo going to find Macro Beast onto the side there. They're trying to finish
it's
off this hero 10 seconds before it despawns. Looks like they are going to be able to. A few members from Min just hovering in the area, but slightly too late to do anything about it. That is going to be both of them picked up for Leviathan Squad.
yeah, a very tight timer. The amount of damage they're able to pump into that objective just shows how much damage they're able to pump into some of these champions in those skirmishes, which enabled that Rift Hero to be taken. Although this might be mid tower here, or at least a decent chunk.
Yeah, trying to find it. There is the Shirelia's expended to try and find the engage, but a nice route coming out from Senna and the ultimate from Coletta, able to allow their team to charge their way straight back towards their own base there, finding the disengage. Not able to pick up the tower, unfortunately, but does get away with their lives.
Yeah, just a little bit of extra objective gold is going to really help Mint Gaming breathe in and try and get an advantage here. The gold difference is starting to widen a little bit more, but with some of these counterplays, they've been promising. They've almost been working out here, which means that they might be able to get some of these picks and restabilize, get some pressure, get some towers in return, or any objective, really.
Yeah, Gold Lead holding pretty steady in the last few minutes at 6K, and while 6K at 21 minutes is certainly not a picture you would like to see, it is at least comforting that it is not snowballing completely out of control just yet. And with the bounties available, you got a lot of money here on the Kled, or on the Poppy, on the Zeri, objective bounties across the map. If you start getting a good team fight, getting a few of these shutdowns, it can certainly be a path back towards successful. So we'll have to see if Mint is able to pick up any of these.
Yeah, and especially there's not that much of an XP lead as you would expect here. Only one in the top lane, and bot lane is fairly neutral as Toadstep is one level behind Bot's Maven, and Macro Beast is one level above Amox. So not as important for the level gap in support as you're just kind of looking for your abilities to be up rather than some of the damage you'd want on your carries. But the XP overall still fairly even, which is an important metric because you can make up gold, but getting XP takes time. You have to wait for waves, and sometimes you're not going to have that time.
Yeah, what is not even though here is the map controls on Leviathan owning a much greater share of the map here. Spies may be looking for a bit of an engage, but not quite able to find it. Malachor going for a stun over the wall, and here comes Inigo Montoya right from the backside, engaging hard onto Spies, getting very, very low here, is going to get taken down in 3-man encore, but here comes Macro Beast. The lightning crash is good, flashing forward directly into 3 members. Are they going to get punished? There is no wild growth available, looks like not for the moment. The dismount coming through from Kled, a nice route from the Senna. FB Myers looking in the backside, going into all of those champions, does find the shutdown into Zeri, 850 gold, moving over. Malachor getting intensely low as well, is going to be taken down. Annie does have the vision over the wall with the Tibber, so is going to trade back on Bingo, and now Myers looking to find their way out of the fight. A triple kill going for Annie, but 2 crucial big shutdowns going over to FE Myers. A 4 for 3, not bad at this stage of the game given the current state. Now looking for a bit more onto Toadstep, one more auto needed, does find it going on a rampage now, but Macro Step with the move speed is able to just burn this Kane off of the map.
Yeah.
Dragon in their sights, going to be just the second one, so 2 away from Soul, but is a lot of gold coming over as a result of the team fight. But no, looks like it's not quite over yet. Even still, Kled now TPing in. There is no smite available, so the Dragon is going to be secured, but Kled wants the shutdown, is able to find it. 700 gold going over, but look at the Diana damage. They're aggressing straight onto Amox, but Senna is there ready to support, and there's the root. They're going to get traded back. Spies is falling, and now on the backside, Malachor has also TP'd in, not able to find the trade onto Inigo. Looks like the members of Men are going to live for a moment again, but 3 big shutdowns going over to this team. After all the dust settles, the gold lead is now 4,500, so has been reduced a little bit. These might be some of the shutdowns they need to be picking up to start making their way back in.
Exactly. A lot of resources were spent at the beginning of this fight, which there might be another fighter brewing. It looks like it's going to be taking a slight breather here, setting up for this upcoming Baron. Ocean Soul, kind of important when you have some tankier builds. So it looks like Spies isn't going for the more bruiserish build with what they have no Jack Show on their kit at all, just trying to burst them down. But when you're on Melkor's Poppy, that extra tankiness is going to be kind of nice. and just enabling some of these carries as well. Or if you're on the other side, on the side of Mint Gaming, Kled being a little bit more healthy, Rise being a little bit more healthy, he's going to have a little bit more HP with Roa and Archangel Staff or Seraphine's Embrace at this point. It's going to be pretty helpful to try and enable that team. So Soul's going to be a decent win con for both teams, although the edge is definitely going to Sun with two Drakes at this point in the game.
Yeah, and two of those big shutdowns going over to Kled was a big deal as well in that previous team fight, with Diana going for a complete glass cannon build. Annie, and not a particularly mobile champion, Zeri certainly a champion that they want to be taking out. It gives Kled these good targets to be able to find assassination, to be able to find the W harass over the wall. And now we do have Myers as the person who is most ahead on their team, the richest member currently. So we'll see if they are able to do any kind of work for that. For now, it looks like dust is settling for just a moment. We do have Macro Step potentially getting caught in between two members here, but it looks like they don't have the vision to take advantage of it. Kane not going to find the pick here on the bot lane for the moment, being just picking up some waves and potentially prepping for some Baron vision.
Yeah, just a slight note, Umbral Glaive for ranged champions only does 2 damage to wards right now. So I'll have to hold my thought with Macro Beast getting caught out here.
Yeah, Macro Beast
My
just absolutely getting run down in this mid lane. Here's the power of the Blue King, just able to find these sneaky angles across the map, zooming in so quickly and finding these picks without the Lulu, without the rest of the team there to support. The survivability is nowhere close to the same, and we actually have Macro Step investing the teleport as well, going straight into the middle lane to try and hold, dissuade against a potential Baron take there. But that is a free pickup. Another one going into the pockets of the King here is going to be further accelerated.
Yeah, not just the Blue Cane's damage output, but numbers is enough to do stuff, league together strong, try and take some of these people out together as a team. It is a team game, 5v5. This isn't solo duo, this is a competitive match. So just grouping up and trying to get some of these picks, even if it's in the middle of a lane, is enough. Trying to get some of these objective bounties on the turrets is going to be able to help. And the objective bounties are down now as the goal difference is only at 2,000. Now, rather than the 6,000 we've seen, so Mint is coming back into this game. If you can drop a 6,000 gold lead, you can certainly drop a 2,000 gold lead on the side of Sun Leviathan.
Yeah, we saw the value of those shutdowns, the value of these picks that they were able to find has been the vehicle for them to be able to find their way back into the game. We now see 3 items coming out onto members, many of the crucial members here for the Annie, for the Rise, for the Poppy, and for the King, some of the most accelerated members here currently onto the map. So we'll see if they're able to continue closing this distance. We do have scaling as something to keep in mind as well. Senna Seraphine, a team comp that can help keep their teams very much alive, but on the other side, this Zeri Lulu certainly can grow to be a huge threat, particularly in the late game. So we'll see how the teams start navigating the situation. 28 minutes is starting to get fairly late into the game, just 20 seconds until Dragon spawns. So both sides going to be having their eyes on this objective. Rise on the top side, teleport is available. 5 members of Sun Leviathan gathering here in the river, prepping for this objective.
Yeah, Sun has been able to win a lot of these jungle fights. Their team is kind of just enabled by the jungle being able to land some of these important skill shots, set stuff up, pin you up against the wall. And with Force of Nature, Malkorby is going to be able to just take a lot of abuse for their team and prevent a
Yeah,
lot of those
Malakor looking for the stun against the wall is not able to find it. The Poppy ult does take Seraphine out of the fight for the moment. Dragon going down to 5k, 4k, most likely going to be secured unless it's stolen. It is F.E. Myers with the steal here, but now the fight has started in earnest. The King ulti already burned, and now everyone is trying to run away as fast as they can. The lightning crash is not enough chasing potential to find any additional picks, so just a flash and 2 flashes actually exchanged for the Dragon. You'll take that any day of the week. But Inigo Montoya a little bit extended here in the mid lane. Looks like there's still not enough chasing power here. So just getting away with an absolute steal of an objective.
And no deaths, and no deaths. That's the most important part. Getting a steal for all that objective gold, all that team gold that you're going to be having on everyone, stopping soul point on the enemy team, getting closer to there is really important. It looks
Yeah,
like
it looks like the
Baron's gonna
call
be
is going to go
starting.
Baron immediately. Seraphine still a little bit of a distance away, and the Baron is going down very quickly. A lot of ultimates are missing, in particular the Lightning Crash not available here. Macro Step kind of getting caught out in the top side is immediately just going to go down to Boss Raven and Bingo here. Inigo Montoya is drawing 4 members here on the top side as the chase is on. Charge a while before it's available, but look at the
Stop.
damage from Myers, this King, and now it's the Diana getting caught. Spies going down to Bots Maven on the bot side. Inigo Montoya
Yeah.
is finding Toad Step as well. That's 3 deaths, and all 5 members of Men are alive and ready to take this Baron. This is where the comeback is being secured.
A lot of sustain, being able to play stuff out. When you start Baron this early, all your resistances are going to be shredded, and Blue K is going to be like, sure, I'm going to do even more damage now. I didn't even necessarily need it.
Yeah, Malachor charging up the ultimate is able to knock away Inigo for the moment, being Zeri on the bot side. Malachor now charging, looking for the trade onto bot Raven, getting very low. The Baron is taken now. Malachor trying to flash in to find the trade, is able to pick it up, but does trade their life away in response. A 1-for-1, but the Baron is secured and available on 4 members, and this is their chance to blow open the game. Looking for a little bit more damage is Myers there. The Shirelli is activated in response. Will they be able to find the chase? Tibbers does miss, but the rest of the damage is there, and there is the polymorph as well. Myers overextending just a little bit, so now we're down to 3 members with Baron. The pushing power is getting diminished by the moment. Maybe Leviathan will be able to hold against this big objective take.
Yeah, Myers getting picked out there. Can't, go that deep into the enemy jungle with the being so close. Any of the death timers coming up means you're going to be picked out. And when you're a squirrel, you can't just climb over some of these walls. You have to be Kane trying to go through. It was accidentally played at that Baron fight, just being able to turn stuff. Zeri's shield bow went down in that fight, which means they weren't able to go in quite as safely as they weren't going to be able to peel for themselves. We're going to be more team reliant. And with some of those picks already happening, that just kind of meant they were going to have to play fairly safe and not be in that fight, which is a lot of their damage.
Yeah, absolutely. The Kane getting picked there is going to be consequential for the team. But meanwhile, Inigo Montoya, knowing that all of the most members had just assembled mid, is able to get that bot tower and just go home easy as you please. The first enter falling for Mint Gaming, as now the rest of the members are looking to push up mid 3 against 3 just for the moment. Few members on all sides of the map picking up additional income as they are able to find it. Baron over halfway gone now, so just taking up 2 towers, 1 outer in the top lane, 1 inner on the bot lane. Not the largest swing just yet. So Sun is going to be pretty happy if that is all they're able to take away from this objective. Teams are going to also be looking at this soul point dragon spawning in just over a minute now, available for both teams. So we'll see how they start to set up for that shortly.
Yeah, with all these important cooldowns coming up, not just ultimates and other spells, but some of these summoners as well. Botsmaven's exhaust is going to be up pretty soon as well, and they're going to be able to get some of these wards, try and get a nice setup here. Possibly Bengo is going to be able to get their death cap finished, and some of these lanes are going to be able to push up. This next dragon is probably where a lot of these fights are going to be happening. People trying to get their power spikes set up and execute this fight and turn this game. It's not going to be necessarily over after this fight, but a lot of gold is going to be exchanging hands once this takes place, with Dragon coming up here in 30 seconds.
Yeah, this is certainly promising to be a huge fight. Deathcap not finished for Bingo there, but still very strong. Just look at the damage coming out into Toadstep, and there comes Inigo and FE Myzeri left on by their low. Some Macro Beast going down already. A good Diana ulti, but there is no support from the team now, just going in and getting melted by the Rise. Malachor does ult 2 out, but the Rise is still on the chase. Inigo is still on the chase. Myers is still on the chase, looking for the trade against Malachor. A stun coming out from the Annie, trying to find what damage they can. Does manage to dismount Kled there, but Kled does have the support from the rest of the team. Tibbers invested as well, so that's likely to have Kled going down. Needs one more auto to remount, but is not able to find it. The shutdown coming out for Macro Step, but the rest of the team is down. Just 2 members left to try and hold this dragon. Unlikely to happen. Malachor is going to do what they can, but you've got to imagine a steal is just so far out of the picture currently. And we've seen in these last few team fights, repeatedly, it has been been Mint Gaming finding these moments where the members of Sun Leviathan are isolated or slightly out of position. At Baron, it was Macro Step walking up into Bingo and Boss Maven. There at Dragon, it was Macro Beast left alone in the chaos of Myers and Inigo charging in. And if they don't find an answer to these kinds of tools, if they aren't able to have their team work together cohesively, then it's going to be a very difficult rest of the game as these team fights can just continue to play out the same way.
Yeah, the vision here very important, like I was saying earlier, and you were saying right now. Just look at the vision scores coming out of both supports here. 105 coming out of Toadstep, a phenomenal number. You expect like 2.5 is a pretty good score per minute. So we'd be talking, like 70 right now. So we're like over 30 in that spot. And Bots Maven sitting here at 103. Umbroglaive putting a lot of work at trying to get some of these wards picked up, both playing kind of the darkness, which is what you want to be doing when you have some of these picks. If both teams are blind, the team that is there first is going to have an advantage. And when both teams have such good pick potentials, that's is what's going to turn a lot of these fights around. This is why it's good. A 2020 score for the kills. And there's a slight gold lead now on Mint Gaming with 2K. We saw them playing pretty admirably with a gold deficit, but with this gold lead now, that might be what they just needed to turn this game around and push for the lead and get the enemy nexus. Baron's going to be coming up here in 30 seconds, so this top wave and mid wave are going to be contested to try and set this up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw them come back from what was a pretty significant deficit early on. They're able to find the team fights over and over. And we did mention, right, as early on as the draft, how we could see the members of Mint trying to aggress from multiple angles, offering threat from multiple sides. And that is where the vision is so crucial to be able to keep your carry safe, to be able to give yourself some structure, some anticipation in these team fights. But Mint has been good at denying that, has been good at finding these angles. And now they are first to the Baron here. Nigo continuing to push on that bot lane, looking potentially for the inhib tower. Macro Step sent to match is actually going to TP straight into the mid tower. So they are going to have just the bot lane completely open for the moment. And Nigo
Yeah.
does have TP available for now. And Myers is looking for what kind of pick they can. And now it is going to be Malachor taking the base, having to match this Kled. But the inhibitor is already gone. So maybe a bit of a misstep in terms of macro here. Just unable to keep the side lane in check as they are trying to set up around this Baron. And on the other side, Mint is winning by just not doing anything. Just hold the pressure there, keep the enemy team invested, and allow your Kled to blow open the base.
Yeah, an excellent one for great macro, a macro beast, if you will, on the side of Mythic Gaming here. Exactly what we want to be doing. Not even having to use the TP and then forcing it out on macro step, which is important here. And they got a lot of vision over in the Baron pit. Of course, it's gone out with some of these sweeps, but with all of those sweepers being down, they might be able to reestablish some of this with a bunch of control wards sitting on Kled, Kane, and Senna as well, trying to recapture this and get some of the numbers. And with a TP advantage on both your mid lane and top lane, that's kind of important. Only Malker V having a TP here.
Yeah, and having that bot lane inhibitor going down is so important at this point in the game as well, because that opens up the minions to be pushing on the opposite side of the Baron. Malachor is at least trying to hold this still. Seems like they are still able to stonewall Kled just for the time being. This Poppy refusing to be moved out of this lane, offering some effective wave clear. So it seems like they might have found the answer for the time being. Both top laners jostling for position here as the rest of the team is at this tug of war in the Baron. All sides are on this objective. Malachor continuing to fight very heavily with the Kled, but still for the moment with the advantage. Myers continuing to look for what vision they can. Macro Step ready with the Tibbers on the side. If any members overstep, here it comes! Immediately blowing up Bots Maven, but is going to be engaged on in response. The flash from Myers finishing out the shutdown, and now the ultimate is going to go over to Macro Beast, but the rest of the team is not there yet. But here comes the teleport from Kled. Inigo Montoya is running down, but finds himself in a 1v4. The Zeri is going to easily cut that down. Bingo looking for the kill, but is unable to find it on the Lulu. Encore hits too, and now Bingo forced the flash out, trading back with these overloads, doing so much damage here. Send a Seraphine on the top side. Macro Beast with the flash forward to try and find the Seraphine, but Seraphine has a flash of their own, is going to hold steady, is able to survive. Two going down on the side of some Leviathan. Wait a second, look at that damage from Myers. Actually is going to pick up Lulu, blasted out of existence, and now these three members are heading down for Dragon, for this Dragon Soul, for some much needed sustain here. This is something that can absolutely change the side lane dynamic as well. Kled will be able to hold their own into Poppy. Spies looking for the steal here. Still, Lightning Crash not available. Such a crucial tool for this team fight. If they were to go for it, Malachor trying to ward off some aggression on the top side, Mint trying to prevent the steal from coming out. Bots Maven has rejoined now, and there is the Poppy getting caught out. The Donny Shadow is not good, but it doesn't matter. Both members go down. They might turn for Baron, they might turn for the end. We'll see which of the two they decide. Looks like they will go for the objective instead. Ocean Soul picked up, 2 kills picked up. Here is Mint Gaming coming alive as the game continues to progress.
Yeah, Myers didn't have to use Smite here, which just means it's going to be up, meaning Baron's off the table to try and contest with your jungler being dead.
Bots Maven's also off the table, though, also just going down once again to macro step with a burst available on the Annie, but it is just a 1-for-1 trade, just only able to pick up the Senna here, as the rest of Sun Leviathan is too far to support, having to deal with these minion waves in the mid lane, in the bot lane. Now Baron is picked up for the second time for Mint Gaming. A lot of these champions starting to approach full build now. This Ryze is absolutely a massive threat. This Kayn is starting to one-shot the members. Flash not available on Macro Beast for a couple more minutes. Such a crucial tool once again. Mid lane tower falling down. They're going to be looking to crack open the base on these next few pushes.
Yeah, the rune's doing wonders for Inigo Montoya. It's just bursting down that target once all those stacks came down, just chewing through it, and Baron is going to be able to get these minions a little bit quicker in there and try and siege stuff up. They might be rotating for the top here, just trying to make sure there's not a whole lot of breathing on Leviathan, making sure they're not going to be a Leviathan, but an Ouroboros eating themselves from losing this gold advantage they had on early. The death timers are really important here as they're approaching over 40 seconds, pushing some of these team fights to be more important than you might expect with how long those timers are.
Yeah, any of these picks will be very consequential now. And speaking of that, here goes Macro Step, just erased from the map by Myers here. The hypermobility and the burst value of this blue Kayn coming out strong as this game continues to progress. That's the mid laner down. It's the team fight initiator down. Is the burst damage down as Myers looks to find this bottom tower, is able to pull themselves away for the moment. The rest of men assembling here in the mid lane, looking for the push. The waves are not parallel, so Leviathan will be able to, for just a moment at least, pull all their members to the relevant lane to find support. But because it's an open inhib that allows Myers to come back in, start working on this inhibitor. Inigo is on the top lane as well, escorting this wave in. Baron's got about a third of its buff duration remaining, but it looks like for the moment they're not going to find anything else, backing away as the members start moving towards the bot lane to answer. But Inigo Montoya has found their way to the top tower. The rest of Mint Gaming has found their way to the mid tower, looking for these last few inhibs to get cracked. The towers do go down. Inhibitors next in their sights. How will Sun Leviathan be able to respond? Are they able to hold? The mid lane inhibitor goes down. The bot lane inhibitor next in their sights. Malachor even starting to get melted by this King, investing the ultimate already. Here comes the charge, going straight onto Toad Step. Lightning Rush going down. Macro Step, one hit from death, does live for just a moment, but the members of Men are staying strong here, looking to escort these minion waves in. The Encore goes in, does not hit. The minion waves are still crashing. The members still looking for a little bit more. The blades reach from King, melting the health bar of the Diana as they start looking for the first Nexus Tower. Inigo Montoya's taking a quick base, going to start with the teleport back shortly. You must imagine a moment of calm as for now, 3 inhibitors down, but Leviathan still alive.
Yeah, Leviathan's still alive right now. Being able to play to the Nexus turrets is enough sometimes to get these fights to turn around and get stuff in. Play to your turrets, play to your base. The fountain's right there. You can heal stuff up if they don't burst you down right away. Try and get some of that gold spent. And this is just a lot of pressure that's going to be coming out as well.
Yeah, a
There's the
lot of pressure indeed. I mean, we have 3 inhibitors falling at the same time. Mint Gaming happy to play it slow, can just escort the minions back, but is going to take a base, spend the last bits of their gold as they reassemble for one more push.
Elder Dragons coming up in a minute and 30 seconds, which could just close the game for whatever team gets it, being able to push things out super fast, get a lot of these kills, and then take a lot of those towers as well. But it might not be needed for how much pressure is going to be applied. Leviathan's not going to be able to push super well with all of these super minions going in. And with the gold lead sitting as it is and the death timers sitting as they are, that might not be enough, or that might be more than enough, I should say, for uh, the red side.
Yeah, and the Sun is just finding themselves in a very uncomfortable spot here. Sure, the Elder Dragon has a giant objective. They'd love to contest it. But with 3 open inhibitors, if you don't have a significant presence in the base, you will just lose the game from the
Yeah,
minions. And on the
Bingo
members
has
of
a
Mint
TP
Gaming, they're
ward.
happy to just assemble 5 members here and play a waiting game. Myers still looking for more poke here. Every Blade's Reach chunking out a third, a quarter of these champions' health. Just an absolute menace here. Now walking in, taking the jungle control, doing this slowly, methodically, looking for the end to the game here. Elder spawning in 17, a few minion waves coming in on all different sides. Maybe looking for a bit of a bush cheese to see if any members are going to face check on their way in. We do have spies clearing in from the top side. Looks like the members of Sun Leviathan are going to try and approach from lane using the most advantage vision as they can. Elder Dragon starting to get taken down to a third HP. The engage comes in from spies, but the ultimate is not going to be found, just melting to the damage of Bingo. Encore does find one onto the Lulu there. Toe Step getting perilously though, does get taken down. Malachor trying to find a trade back onto Bots Raven, but there is Myers in the backside, and now Macro Step is going to be taken down by Inigo Montoyas and this Kane too. On the other side of the fight, Poppy does at least manage to knock 2 back, but Myers flashes in for the finish on Macro Beast, does have the ultimate in, gets the shutdown onto the Zeri, and that has to be the last hope. Bots Maven flashes over to get the heal over for their jungler, and it is going to be a clean ace as 2 members already making their way over to the base, teleporting some minions into the fountain even. The ace closed out, the comeback completed for Mint Gaming.
Yeah, very well played by Mint Gaming, playing things out nice and slow, rotating to those fights when they needed to, and utilizing the numbers advantages to try and get those picks. And the Vision score 161 coming out of Bots Maven, which is just astonishing to see in a nice 47-minute game. Late game Senna really does do a lot of damage once they're able to get some of those stacks in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely farming up those souls and having a significant presence in those fights. And we saw, Sun Leviathan able to find a really nice, almost crushing early advantage there in the game. Malachor just holding their own in the top lane so well, absolutely stopping Inigo from any kind of place they wanted to make early on. Macro Beast able to find these consistent advantages bot lane off of these 3v3 plays. But as we saw it go into the mid game, as it advanced further into the team fights, Leviathan's team just looked slightly less coordinated. We had men with the Kled, with the King coming in, offering so much disruption from all sides. This rise to also silently scaling into such a menace. And after that, they were able to take team fight win after team fight win, swing back the gold advantage, and close out the game. Once it was in their control, they did not let go of it.
Yeah, once you have the lead here and you're able to take charge, dictate how the game is going to be played, and know how to use that correctly, that's going to really push stuff out. Not to say that Sun Leviathan didn't play things correctly, but with the way that gold lead ended up being slipped and not being able to get some of that vision and utilize those early dragon picks as much as they were, even though one did get stolen. That was lights out for that game. We'll have to see if they're able to pick up the second game so we can get into a game three in the best of three.
Absolutely. And we'll be back in just a moment as both teams will reassemble here. Catch you when draft comes back in.
Hello and welcome back to Game 2 in the best of three of Sun Leviathan versus Mint Gaming. It looks like Mint Gaming here is taking the blue side this side, so we're seeing a little bit of a side swap into this setup.
Yeah, and we definitely had an exciting game one there. A lot of very explosive fights and Mint mounting a big comeback in that game. So we'll see if Leviathan is able to mount a comeback in this series. We do have teams just taking a little bit of time to get ready with their final draft plans, but we'll see what the picks are shortly.
Yeah, we'll have to see just shortly. It looks like it's going to be 1 or 2 minutes, according to some of the LOL clients. We're starting just a little bit early. But do you have any band predictions? Do you think Kane is going to make it into this game at all?
I mean, it did seem like the king was largely suppressed earlier on in that previous fight. They ended up having a very large impact too, but Sun might have the confidence to keep it there on the table. I think more than anything else, it was just that Mint was able to cause a lot of disruption in the team fights, and it looked like Sun was not able to successfully answer all the questions that were thrown their way in terms of how to conduct the fights. We had these individual moments where key members were getting caught out or getting slightly mispositioned. So maybe I'd like to see Sun run a team comp that is a little bit easier to execute. I mean, in that previous one, you had Diana and Annie wanting to find a combo onto the members of Mint, but unable to do so in many of these fights. Zeri is a champion that wants to have more extended fights and a lot of chasing potential, but that's not offered too much by the rest of the team outside of the Lulu. So maybe some champions that can work together a little bit more, maybe something that has a slightly easier win condition, leaning more towards cohesiveness rather than player comfort, might be a little helpful.
Yeah, comfort is king and really enables some of that stuff. Like, if their top laner wasn't as comfortable in Poppy, that matchup might have changed a little bit different. But I think you're also right with how some of those team fights ended up going. Just having a stronger identity and being able to just have a stronger game plan that's more cohesive from all of your champions can kind of lock out the game and press your advantage just a little bit harder than you would otherwise. Of course, comfort still matters, so maybe we'll be seeing some like tertiary picks instead of some more primary ones.
Yeah, and it did seem like a lot of it could also have been less down to the individual champion selections and more down towards player execution. I mean, it really found some great avenues to come back in, finding these advantages that they could squeeze out of the team fights. And from there, it was the Kane Senna Seraphine that seemed like Sun didn't have much of a good answer to. Of course, Rise offering also so much damage coming out there. But we are going to get started into draft. Looks like the bans at the very beginning, at least, are still going to remain the same. Lilia, Zac, Varus, these were all champions that were taken out in that first game. Looks like Sun is also still going to be banning the Nocturne as well. Maybe we'll see the Rek'Sai taken off the table. So if it is, no, okay, so it is going to be King swapped in for the Rek'Sai. So Mint Gaming's most familiar jungler, this Rek'Sai, is going to be left open. We'll see if they do opt for it or not in this second game.
Yeah, the triple jungle ban, hitting it again. Just I love to see that when I get triple banned. You know, most people say I doesn't feel that great, but it means hey, they think I'm a big threat. That I'm a great player, and that means my teammates aren't getting banned, and they're going to be able to do some of these priority picks, just like we're seeing here with the Seraphine. Able to get some of those picks before, not getting some like super juicy 5-man ultis, but nonetheless being able to peel for the team, get some damage, and make sure that everyone's nice and healthy on top of which is very important and is technically a flex pick as well. You can go mid, you can go ADC, or it can go support as well.
Yeah, Seraphine B1 was a big competitive choice a while back. You could flex it into three roles. You can enable a lot of really obnoxious team compositions with it, with just champions that will never die, supported by the income and the healing. And it really did have its impact in the previous game, was able to find a few nice ultimates, and just the overall utility it brought to the team comp was highly valuable. But looks like this time around, Leviathan is saying enough with the Zeri scaling, enough with all of that. We are going to go in and find advantages through killing you. So Lucian is going to be picked up, not the Nami pairing just yet, but rather the Fiddlesticks coming in for some explosive team fighting power.
Yeah, spooky, scary fiddlesticks, trying to scare them away from getting a 2-0, making sure that they can get some pressure. And that's some pretty good setup. A lot of CC to be had there. If you're able to get your ultimate off on Lucian, that's a lot of damage. It's like 1,000 damage. It's more than I ever expect whenever I play him, or I'm on the receiving end for sure. And it looks like Mint Gaming's just saying, yeah, we'll run it again. It worked before. We'll have to swap out the cane for something at this point, but still a very potent pick.
Yeah,
Rek'Sai.
and it's yeah, it is going to be Rek'Sai. This is Myers' most comfortable champion, a champion that they have run countless times in this season and the last one. They're most picked by far. So we'll see if they are able to execute on this signature pick. And yeah, Senna Seraphine looks like just a staple for this mid gaming bottom lane, offering a lot of value, offering a lot of stability as well. Fiddlestick's not a champion we actually tend to see all that often, but it can certainly have a very large impact. If you're not sufficiently careful into this pick, it can be very miserable indeed as your team just suddenly finds the entirety of the team just getting exploded here. Rek'Sai, Senna Seraphine, these are not particularly durable champions in the duration of a Crow Storm. Absolutely can be game altering.
Yeah, certainly can be game altering, especially if you're locked down by a Leona. Just getting E'd in for a quarter-second root with the ultimate, the Q, everything else, and it's just going to be a nice front line. And that's a kill lane versus a sustain lane. As an AD carry, I know that's a death sentence for the sustain lane. They can just 100 to 0 you, no problem. So getting some of that sustain, they do have a lot of poke. So if they're able to stop Leona from being super healthy, she's not going to be able to want to go in as much, and that's going to help keep them off. So that's going to be super important for Mint Gaming to make sure Leona does not hop on top of Senna or Seraphine, who are both fairly squishy champions.
Yeah, my eyes are going to be on the early levels there. These melee supports in that level 1 can get bullied out significantly. Lucian a very short range ADC as well. So if they are able to use that early range and harass advantage well, they can ward off any potential engages. Sun Seraphine also offering that double root combo, so is able to hold people at bay for a while. And if they are able to use those abilities correctly, can just survive some of these engages. Lucian Leona is a lane without any sustain at all, so definitely excited to see how that one comes out because the outcome of that bot lane can have a big impact on the game.
Yeah, it looks like we're seeing late game versus early game Irelia very strong early on. We see how strong of a level 2 power spike gets a lot of first bloods and a lot of damage. The slow also is going to be some nice setup for some of these team fights for Fiddlesticks and Leona as well. But Lucian is also another early game champion. Fiddlesticks scales, but not quite as hard as a Senna, a Cho'Gath, Azir for sure. So we'll have to see what this final counter pick is going to be to close out this game and try and get this identity to really push through and take this game.
And Aurelia is an exciting pick here because this champion is just capable of so much. If it starts to get going, it can absolutely make the enemy team's comp a little bit unplayable, capable of 1v2, 1v3, even sometimes in the side lane if they are able to sufficiently get ahead. So it looks like they are going to be sending the Aurelia up to the top lane. Vigar is going to be chosen as the answer to this Azir, offering some zone control. We see here Fiddlesticks, Leona, Vigar, Aurelia. These are champions that will absolutely split up your battlefield if you're not careful with how you navigate it. It can be an absolute minefield to try and get through. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, a lot of scaling indexed over to Mint Gaming. Rek'Sai there to hold over the early game at least, but it looks like it might be a little bit hard for Rek'Sai to be finding gank angles. I mean, Azir, Cho'Gath, these are not champions that often have the best setup, especially with Aurelia, who can just dash out of the Cho'Gath knockups, Lucian, Leona, that are trying to escape the Seraphine Senna. So we'll see how the Rek'Sai is able to play this early game. If they aren't able to find these picks early on, can be a little bit difficult for this jungle champion to get rolling. But if anyone is able to execute on it, Myers should be able to do just that.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been able to experience a game with Rek'Sai. Just that little bit of extra vision from the tremor sense for sure is going to be able to help. And don't forget about the mobility you get from the tunnels as well, being able to move around. So they're could be quite comparable to Fiddlesticks. It's not a matchup I'm as familiar with, as we don't see these comps as much in competitive play, especially with the sequel.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering if we're going to see some invades coming out early on as well. Rek'Sai's early dueling potential is legendary, and Fiddlestick's not a champion that is particularly known for being able to scrap it out 1v1 in the jungle. So if Rek'Sai is able to get some lane prio from their lanes, or is able to just find good timings to move into the enemy jungle, it can potentially make Leviathan's life a little bit miserable there. But we'll have to see how the players play it out. The last few drafts picks are being locked in.
Yeah, Leviathan could go for an invade. Leona could go in, and Irelia has that dash right with the Q. A lot of early damage. Not going to be a strong level 2, but Lucian also pretty strong as well, getting that extra auto attack. So there's potential. It's not going to be super likely. They could possibly death push it, or we could just be seeing both teams go for a standard 5 point, trying just to make sure everyone's safe.
Yeah, Maid's Intimate a little bit scary with the Seraphine Root Cho'Gath knockup combo, something that can absolutely tear your team apart level 1. But we'll see if Leviathan do opt in for it. We're just about to jump into the client delay as the draft gets finished out. But stay tuned, we're gonna come back soon with what's promising to be a really good game too.
Hello and welcome back to the Summer's Rift. I'm Abba Trombone and I'm joined here by Olo Potato. We're in game two in a best of three with Mythic.
And the Mint Gaming and Sun
Yeah,
Leviathan here
yeah.
as both teams getting in a little bit of a level one greeting here. Effie Myers dropping a early ward here. Be greeted by Spies' Drain, getting a bit of gold here off on their off the first strike. And we see some interesting rune and summoner spell choices already. Macro step here with the exhaust coming out against the Exir and the electrocute. So definitely looking for some one-shot potential. Macro Beast there in the bottom lane with the PTA, not surprising, trying to make this a kill lane as best as they can. Amox and Bot Raven trying to hold their own here with the cleanse and the heal.
Yeah, Mox is saying, I think this is a safe enough lane here where I'm just going to get poked a little bit, going double pot tier, just trying to scale, get some of those tier items, which are fairly strong, especially once you get everything stacked. Try to get a little bit more poke onto Toadstep's Leona, making sure they can't go in on their support or themselves, just playing safe. Of course, with the cleanse on there as well, which makes a lot of sense versus Leona. It's almost a necessity.
Yeah, pretty much mandatory every time you see that. Macro Beast and Toadstep wanting to find a bit of a bush trap here, but is going to be spotted by the level 1 ward placed down from Mint Gaming. So they are going to make it their way to lane safely. We see here in this top lane, Malachor and Inigo trading against each other pretty aggressively as soon as the lane has begun. So a bit of a repeat of that last game when we saw these two top laners absolutely just going at each other throughout the game.
Yeah, although Montoya was the aggressor last time, it looks like Malcor V, to no surprise, is going to be the aggressor in this side. Inigo already getting one grass stack, trying to become extra beefy as Cho'Gath does, although with a level disadvantage and the wave crashing in, there could be a potential early dive.
Yeah, Nigo already getting pretty low there, but with Adoran's shield and with the Cho'Gath passive is able to offer themselves some sustain here. Toadstep taking a lot of space,
The
pushing forward
invade.
all the way forward into this bottom bush. But yeah, we do have a bit of an invade coming out to Malachor, trying to find this Rek'Sai. Myers off on the side, ready to potentially aggress in, does get the Tremor Sense, and here he comes. The tunnel is made. Will the knockup be found? No. Flashed away from, but that's the counter flash from Myers. That's what they were waiting for. The flash forward from Inigo. First blood secured for the Cho'Gath. Excellently played by this Rek'Sai. Just waiting out these abilities patiently until the time to strike is ripe. And here comes the Zenith Blade on the bot side too, immediately forcing out the flash from Amox. Macro Beast wanting to look for a little bit more, but potentially the bot lane is going to be able to trade back here. The Echo is available for Seraphine here. The double root does catch another Zenith Blade, not quite able to land there, just on the very tip. Heavy trading coming out, but overall advantage probably to mid spot lane here, staying much healthier with the sustain. Macro Beast taking some damage that will certainly stick.
Yeah, turning the clock back, that early vision play and just being able to set up as Myers getting that early kill, it's very important when you're on the scaling side to just play safe. But if you have any sort of advantage, that's going to really help mitigate any disadvantage you would have versus some of these earlier competitions.
Yeah, bots may even finding a route, but stepping forward a little bit too far as Toadstep just runs forward. Zenith Blade, stun, and ignite. Melts this Senna. Has to respect this early game burst potential. Macro Beast expending both summoners too. And here comes Myers looking for invade. Macro Step wanting to help. They're putting down the
Oh,
cage
so
to stop the
close.
aggression. One auto from going down to bingo there, but does get away with their life. This Rek'Sai looking to further the aggression that they were able to find early on.
Yeah, taking some favorable trades on the bot side was important. Just being able to get them down a little bit lower and then keeping the ignite up so when they tried to heal that they wouldn't be able to do it, go in and kill them. And then the cleanse never having enough time to come in and just kind of being popped by PTA means this early kill is going to be going onto Toad Step, not Macro Beast solution here. Although just a little extra beefiness on your support never hurts, especially when they're facing so much poke here and a good return shove from a Mux just to try and even out this buy advantage that was taken by Macro Beast, excellently played to try and get some of this earlier tempo, to try and set how the lane goes, because you want to be closer to your tower so the enemy's further to run away, just like we're seeing here.
Yeah, Bingo getting caught with the cage near their tower, but looks like they might just opt for a bit of a reset here, running really low on mana. Just gonna take their trip on the way home, come back into lane with the TP. Already up 10 CS against Macro Step here, so finding the early lane advantage. On the opposite side, though, it is Amox and Bots Maven taking a bit of an inopportune reset. They didn't get the crash all the way to tower, which does mean they lose beyond a full wave just to the minions here. And we see that has given Lucian a very significant CS advantage as the Son of Seraphine come back to lane. There is Macro Step on behind them too, trying to find the roam potential, and Flash Zenith's Blade gets the play started. The cage is good, just catching it expertly right there on the end, feeding over the kill over to Macro Beast. A great roam opportunity and a great look on the engage here. This kill lane is paving dividends. On the top side, though, we do see both of these laners going at each other too. One more dash coming in from the Aurelia, but the finish is just a little bit shy of being enough there. The Trollgap does get away with their life, but with that kill in the bot lane, it will allow Spies and Toadstep to opt for this first dragon, getting an ocean off of the map.
Yeah, the consequences of that, it's really boring to talk about, but lane management with the waves is really important. It sets up all of those plays, kind of like we talked about before, gets you those kills, gets you those roam timers, and in this case, it gets you a dragon because you're able to utilize it so well, and it gets some of that early lead like we saw last time.
Yeah, we do see a bit more of a spicy trade coming in with the top lane, but no kill going to come out. But yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, all of that series of plays we just saw on the bot lane was largely off the result of the wave. The crash was not able to find their way in. Macro Beast and Toadstep were able to freeze the wave near their tower, forcing Seraphine to try and get the crash. Macro Step knew that, goes in for a roam bot and gets the pick that they want to find. But here now, Myers is going to run straight into Toadstep, who was trying to get a
Oh
little
my
bit of
god.
vision, but getting it just a touch too late, perhaps. Here comes the tunnel. The Leona is flashless here, but looks like the chasing power is just a little short, not quite able to find enough move speed to finish out the pick here. This support is pretty durable, is able to survive that encounter.
Yeah, the ruby crystal just giving them an extra amount of health. Not that they necessarily need it, but aftershock also provides a little bit of sustain if you just Q walk away. And they're having a nice XP lead with how these waves are going. Macro Beast already hitting level 6 here, which is very important. It's a good power spike. Everyone knows about the level 2 power spike and the lesser known level 3, but 6 really does change lanes, especially for blue side. Mux really needs that ultimate, and Bots Maven also really likes their ultimate. They're able to change the map on a global scale, trying to heal and shield different players should that go around, and they're able to call it out in their calls.
Yeah, absolutely. The Sun bot lane a full level up against their opponents here is losing a wave off of this base, but they'll be happy enough with the results here, picking up the Noon Quiver and the pickaxe coming back into lane. That's going to be a pretty scary illusion. Up 20 CS at this point in the game, offering their Leona some chance to continue to clear out some vision. Here, looking at Myers, this early Rek'Sai, we mentioned that they need to be able to find some plays, but really they were just able to find that one pickup there in the top lane. After that, it hasn't had the kind of impact that we might want to see. And this Fiddlesticks not quite able to get off ganks, but able to silently farm their way up, finding themselves in a significant camp advantage, hitting their level 6. And this is where they are able to find the most impact. We do see now Mint Gaming opting for the Rift Herald up top, but here's Fiddlesticks looking for a lane gank on the bottom side, looking to further explode this bottom lane matchup. But the danger pings come out from the side of Mint Gaming. Looks like they are aware of the danger, are just going to back off.
Yeah, it looks like they're just backing out, able to get some of these cross map plays. Spy is just going to be able to sit in the bush, wait for them to push up just a little bit, and all in because they know that the Rift Herald was being taken and it's going on to Ignito.
Yeah, and now Myers is here to match as well. So it will be a 3 versus 3 here on the bot lane should they choose to fight. Fiddlesticks here still waiting patiently in the bush, waiting for the opportunity. And here it comes. Crow Storm is going to be started. Bots Maven instantly taken off the map, off the back of that ultimate. The patience plays and gets the value that they want, finding that first kill. The Fiddlesticks already getting some action on the map.
Yeah, the action there, setting up some plays, getting that farm lead, very important to have and to enable your team. And Macrobeast getting this early gold, especially with magical footwear, that extra kill percent chance.
Yeah,
Oh,
Culling coming out just a few bullets away from killing there. Not going to get the rest of the chase here. And Myers is available on the side. So we'll see if the catch is available here. But does get the Q on and the flash engage is there for Macro Beast. Does expend the OT as well to further the chase. Both summoners expended from the Lucian, but they are going to live. Toad Step now looking to get taken down, but seems like they are going to be able to run away as well. Whereas meanwhile on the top side, Malachor just gets feasted by Inigo and falls there. Aurelia was able to find the advantage early on, but now it's this Cho'Gath finding the trades right on back.
yeah, the kill on Shogath, getting a little bit extra health, and these tower plates is gonna be extra gold. It's gonna force Macro Beast for sure to be going Kraken Slayer instead of Gale Force, but it looks like they ended up going Gale Force, trying to go for that extra outplay potential. It's gonna be a lot harder to kill a super mega tank. Maybe they're planning on thinking that LDR is gonna be enough, and they probably took cut down as well to try and get through them as well. Hopefully that's enough for them. Otherwise, the damage is going to be a lot harder. Macro Step might be able to pump in some of that damage as well. But Agneto could probably take just a lot of abuse right now.
Yeah, in this Cho'Gath, despite getting bullied early on, despite the farm disadvantage, is now 1,000 gold up over the Aurelia. Finishes the Heartsteel as well, is going to start stacking this HP to absurd levels between the Feast and the Heartsteel stacks that
And the
you're going to be
grasp.
able to. Oh yeah, absolutely. You're gonna start seeing probably 6,000, 7,000 HP Cho'Gath coming out later on in this game. And Aurelia is a champion that does need some amount of advantage to be able to bite into tanks,
Yeah,
such
no
that the
Borg.
Cho'Gath is presenting. Yeah, no Bork finished just yet. And now it looks like the members of Sun are going to be looking at this second dragon. Myers is in the area, but is going to give them a bit of space. And here immediately we see Inigo as soon as they come into lane, going for an easy trade onto Malachor, just chunking away half their health. The members of Sun Leviathan are all assembled around their dragon, but here comes Bingo. The shift is good,
Is it a
and
steal?
but Myers goes down immediately, and the dragon is secured. And now Macro Beast is looking for more. Spies is looking for more. Crow Storm on the one side, while Seraphine falls onto the other. It is all coming up. Sun Leviathan, just like in game one, securing this early advantage.
Yeah, unlike in game one, we didn't see a dragon steal from Myers, a noble attempt, but with the way the composition's been done by Team Leviathan, they were able to say, no, you're not going to be able to come in here over the dragon pit. We will just kill you. No smite. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go to the fountain.
Yeah, Bingo there with a commendable attempt with the shift in on Azir, finding 3 or 4 members there. But the follow-up damage was just not readily available. The bot laners were too far away. The jungler was stuck in the pit trying to find the objective instead. So they were able to just get focused down by multiple members. But here now in top lane, Malachor actually finding back a lot of damage back onto Inigo. But Myers is here once again. The flash is not going to save them for the moment being, as the Rek'Sai damage is just too strong. Inigo able to stay alive, wait for the support of the jungler, and take down this Aurelia for the third time. That's got to be heartbreaking if you are
Yeah.
Malachor.
All of those short trades is exactly what Agneto needs to be doing, trying to get all those stacks up. But Bork, we talked about how important of that item that was. We just saw how much that changed trying to get away, being able to re-engage. And it doesn't feel great whenever a tent is pitched on your side, getting multiple ganks. But when you die, that's still gold going onto the enemy team. It's good for Leviathan, though, that they've been able to get stuff on the opposite side of the map on bot side. It's not a tower there, but it is 3 kills on a Lucian, which might be enough to really push stuff over. We'll have to see if Macro Beast lives up to his name and is able to use that advantage to secure the game with their macro skill.
Yeah, and it really has to be the bot lane here coming in for Sun Leviathan, helping them find the close if they are able to find it. Sun Seraphine is a lane that is okay going down a little bit. They are able to do a lot on relatively low income, but Lucian is also a champion that can do a lot with an advantage. We also see the value of the Aurelia pick there on the top lane, very nearly taking down Inigo at such a disadvantage and very nearly turning the jungle gank as well, but just unfortunately a little bit shy. Had those kills not gone over in the early game, it might be a different picture we're looking at. But now, as it stands, it's a relatively even game state. Myers looking for another gank there onto macro step.
The
The Azir
shuffle.
shift is good, but the Leona Zenith Blade comes in to save their mid laner, the Crow Storm as well. On top of that, Bingo is getting burned down. Inigo Montoya's coming in to try and offer some additional damage here, but it is one Cho'Gath against three members. Bottomaven has joined in now as well as Cho'Gath getting funneled, getting CC'd, but staying alive, surviving for such health. There's this one auto against Macro Step to proc the Heartsteel and take him down, but is not going to find it, and there is the Primordial Burst bursting down the Cho'Gath, taking down their health, and Macro Beast on the other side of the map, on that bot side, Gale Forces in finds the finish onto Avox. Sun Leviathan again finding some great place around this mid lane. Myers looking for the play, getting so close, but not quite finding it, and Leviathan turned it around.
Yeah, with a name like Primordial Burst, you have to feel like that's built specifically for Cho'Gath, like it does extra damage or something. But just playing as safe as that while baiting it out, that damage going on to him taking the kill, that's obviously a nice shutdown. And under the scaler as Viger, getting those extra stacks also helps getting an extra row, possibly going for another, well, not death cap, but a Seraphine's Embrace. That's going to be quite potent as both those items are not only just gold efficient, but are just strong in general. And then Macro Beast pushing the lead even further. A Mox and Bots Maven not going to be able to get some of this XP and gold that they necessarily need. They're going to catch this wave. A lot of resources have been spent. Some gold needs to be spent, burning a hole in their pocket. And of course, they need to refill that mana as well.
Yeah, we've seen just off of the back of that one previous play, gold lead extending from 2 to 4K. Now, that was the power of numbers in the mid lane. Myers and Bingo looking for a great play. And now it is Bingo and Inigo looking for their great play. Roaming on down, trying to find the Vigar once again. This time is going to get very stuck in between all of these members. No feast coming out, so not going to pick up the stack. Instead, it is going to be some gold going over to Myers here. Now Inigo is going to find Toadstep here, trying to clear a little bit of vision, trying to find the Leona. A lot of resources weren't burnt already. Spies does get knocked up there, but the Crow Storm not expended just yet. Dragon just now spawning. It will be a 4v5 if Sun Leviathan decide to contest. Toadstep getting poked down just a little bit more. Again, we'll see if they are able to buy enough time for the rest of the team to come over, or if they just opt to trade for the top lane. Objective bounties are up, so this will not only deny soul point, but will put a little bit more gold into the members of Mint Gaming. It looks like
Yeah,
they will just be happy with the trade.
Yeah, Feast being saved there like I expected for the dragon, making it so there's no way you're going to be able to steal it. That's a lot of extra damage above a smite just to secure it. A good trade with the lead on the side of Leviathan, taking the top tower, pushing over, and then saying, you know, it's a little risky to push for this tower right here. They might be back and coming for me. I'm just going to take some of their jungle camps and make sure Myers can't get some more out of this.
Yeah, Myers going again, finding macro step for the third time here. Toadstep trying to come in and save their mid laner, and instead it's going to be Spies, but the Crow Storm once more finding all the members. One more hit onto bots. Maven does find
Oh,
the kill. Their Spies on a killing spree. This has been the Crow Storm value we wanted to see from this early game, and it has been Spies finding these impactful ultimates over and over again to turn the tide for their team. Macro Step with this Rod of Ages, with the Seraphs, so tanky, just acting as bait for their team to get the team fight started and get the kills turned for their side.
yeah, the bait they're doing all that they need, saying, "Hey, I'm a nice little tasty treat to snack on, to feast on, nom 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 nom," but not being able to get it, trying to eat it before it's fully cooked, and dying instead.
And Macrobeast may be going to trade their life for the bottom tower. They're trying to find the duel onto Bingo. Two flashes expended, one on each side, as both players are going to go perilously low, but both are going to end up surviving. Just one more
Into the
auto or
heal.
one more culling stack needed for the Azir, but not finding it. Yeah, the heal expended as well for the solution, running away from that Azir tower. So dust settles for just a moment. A lot of action has just happened on the Rift, but now it is still going to be Leviathan with the Gold League 6K at this point in the game. 20 minutes, a very familiar picture, not unlike what we saw in the previous game. And also, not unlike what we saw, it is Inigo Montoyas here on the Cho'Gath starting to get really large, trying to be enough of a hold against Macro Beast and the rest of the crew, trying to keep them in the game.
Yeah, it's not just the character model that makes him big, the stat line as well, trying to really emphasize how big of a target he's going to be, how tanky he's going to be, stop any of the potential healing that they might be seeing on the Aurelia as well, trying to get some of these power spikes with the Thorn Mail, starting with a Bramble Vest, of course. The gold lead has also got to be coming from these minion waves. We're down 50 CS despite being all these kills in the top lane. We've been trying to get all these ganks for the jungle, but we've been they haven't been successful, so we haven't been getting as many kills, and that means the enemy has been able to farm Spies, punishing it appropriately. And the bot lane, of course, not able to get some of these full pushes, dying on top of it.
Yeah, trying
And
to find another gank here. Malachor blowing their ultimate once again, trying to find the turn, but just is going to get feasted down. So this
feast.
time, Myers' movement is going to be rewarded. But with two members on the bot side, looks like some pings going around on the top side, potentially looking for Baron. Bingo wants to check it, but does get held in place by Macro Step. The Gale Force in to try and find it from Macro Beast, but Seraphine's healing is going to be enough to keep Bingo alive there. Azir gets away with their life, and Nico get some solo time here with the bot tower and the bot wave.
Yeah, both teams seem to be understanding the power of a 4-1. Last time with Dragon being traded, we saw Malkavi trying to push top, and now we see Agneto trying to get the bot tower with the TP up on both sides. Baron, a very powerful way to trade, but trying to go for an early play on the Baron means your resistances are going to be shredded. And with some of these lethality items on Myers, that means some of these carries might end up getting popped, and your damage is going to be pushed into an objective rather than some of the enemy champions. Meaning that could be turned on, and that could make your gold lead slip. The adjustment here into game two has been quite well on the side of Leviathan.
Yeah, Myers trying to find it once more. This time it's not Toadstep that's offering support, but rather it is going to be Malakor's TP keeping the Vigar safe here. This Rek'Sai is drawing out a lot of pressure. Does have the popping potential like Blue Cane, but just not the same kind of mobility that you might see with that sort of champion. But still, has been able to find a few impactful picks, especially for their top laner throughout the course of the game. But now it's going to be Dragon coming out in 20 seconds, a slightly late reset coming from Myers off the back of that play. TPs have been expended already, and Nico Montoya walking forward to Toadstep, getting Heart Seal proc. Crowstorm actually finding low value, only going to find some of Cho'Gath's HP. A two-man encore into two-man knockup. Will that be a signal of a start of a good fight? No more follow-up coming out for the moment being, but it is a lot of health bars getting taken down for both teams, and Nico Montoya is getting really low, but here comes the Dawning Shadow and the Shift. It is going to be Leona trying to find their way in. Malachor investing the Vanguard's edge as well, coming in, trading 1-for-1, and it's now 3-for-3 across the map. Nico Montoya is still standing strong with half their HP. Amox and Bot Maven trying to find their value, but a two-man stun coming in from the Vigard just absolutely destroys the Senate there. The Electrocute finding its value, and that does mean the Dragon is likely to go over to Sun Leviathan there. A bit of an explosive fight, but ultimately it is Sun Leviathan finding the advantage, and the smite is going to be good from Spies, does secure the objective, so point is secured for their team.
Yeah, Infernal, 6% more AP and AD, a lot more damage. Feast was used on a champion, so Ignoya, Montoya isn't able to try and steal it from there, get some more stacks that way. Got it on a champion, which goes on forever, of course, rather than some of these objectives. But nonetheless, Soul Point is a lot of damage with a Vigard. That's a lot of late game security. That Leviathan wants to try and take the second game and then push for a game three and then take it from here. Of course, the game's not over, and it could be a reverse like we saw last time, though it's looking
Yeah, it
less likely.
certainly could be Bingo dodging in just a hair's breadth away from taking that Vanguard W, which would have certainly taken out a good chunk of their HP, but does manage to survive that for the moment being. And yeah, that dragon fight, it looked like potentially an inroads for Mint to come back their spies, just finding the one-man Crow Storm onto Inigo, the tankiest member, who was able to get away with the flash over the wall. But the continuation, unfortunately, was not good enough. The encore value into the knockup, not finding any follow up from the rest of the team. And from there, it was the bush trap from Macro Step just instantly exploding the bot lane or closing out the rest of the fight, making the contest impossible. So we'll see if they are able to find a better angle. Myers patiently waiting, maybe looking for an engage onto spies. And
Yes.
here it goes. Yeah, it is going to be the spell shield preventing any sort of counterplay. A shutdown going into the pockets of Bingo. Much needed gold over here to this Azir. One of the best members you could hope to have it on. Finding the jungler here 26 minutes into the game, looking to apply some bot pressure as well. This Rek'Sai has been getting the picks that they need to find. Toadstep maybe fishing around for an engage, but is not going to decide to take the 2v4 here, is going to be just happy with the pick and their way out.
Yeah, vision like last time, very important. It means you're not going to be caught out, but more importantly, it enables some of these plays that we've been seeing around objectives, like we saw. It looks like bot's going to be coming in for more of a fight. We'll have to see if we're able to get a catch here, or if it's just going to be an extended bruiser. All of these grasp stacks doing a bunch of damage versus Melkor.
Yeah, the
This
Cho'Gath E-Stack scaling off of the max HP, just doing numbers on Aurelius HP here. Does not care about the Bork or the Wits End. And now Teleport is actually going to come over straight to the top side, maybe looking for a Baron contest, but surely that is difficult with all 5 members on the map and Crow Storm available. So Inigo is going to start walking on over, establishing some presence here. Going to take a small chunk over from Macro Beast, but that is going to be just peanuts damage against the HP block. But looks like it is just going to be teleport invested for not much gained.
Yeah, we're already sitting at 5,000 health on Magneto Montoya.
Yeah, maybe something lost as well. The Dawning Shadow now also expended just for Toadstep Zenith Blade. So no resources at all expended from Sun Leviathan's team. And a bit of an awkward base there in the bush is going to take away a teleport and ultimate. And that's going to make Sun Leviathan now turn onto the Baron. Inigo Montoyas is finishing the base here. It looks like the members of Min either have no idea or elect to just give up the objective entirely after doing a bit of a Baron dance for a while. It's just not going to walk anywhere near, and that's Baron going down for free. And that's going to give Sun Leviathan a lot of pushing power to try and extend the close of this game.
Yeah, not only the extra gold, but the extra pressure able to apply, get the minion waves there faster, siege some of these towers. It's kind of hard to get into some of these champions. Spias could be sitting in a bush ready to pounce should you overextend and walk too far away from your team, like we saw in a dragon fight earlier. And Macro Step just being able to baby cage people, make sure no one gets in.
Yeah, Myers looking for Malachor, but taking so much of their HP in response. Malachor going to find the trade, but Nigo does get the feast to trade the kill back. Toadstep looking for Bingo maybe, but getting caught out a little bit. And Nigo Montoyas there taking pressure from 4 members, but the HP is good. 2-man Encore, but there's the 3-man Crowstorm in response. The bot lane of Mint is going to get melted, and the rest of the team is looking to follow suit. A double kill coming over for Macro Step. 3 members still standing strong, and only Amox available, still alive for Mint Gaming. The Dragon coming up in 9 seconds. Maybe some more pushing to be done soon. Another cage catches out Amox there, forcing the cleanse. Primordial Burst not available, trying to find the chase, but Amox is going to get away with some final bit of move speed there, but the Dragon is going to be theirs.
Yeah, like I was saying right before the fight, the vision here is very important, and we don't see a whole lot of vision on the side of Mint Gaming, which is going to result in the soul, a little extra damage, some extra poke from these fights, and just that extra damage. So much burst damage is going to be on Macro Step, really pushing forward and doing a ton of damage here. And we're seeing quite a bit of damage. Lord Dominic's certainly helping slay Ignito Montoya's doing a lot of damage, only sitting at 102, but it was just completed fairly recently, and the extra armor penetration to try and get him down is going to be a lot. And his health isn't going to go down without a fight for sure. Pushing, 6,000 health probably by the end of the game, if not even further.
Yeah, it is a very strong front line. And Toadstep, though, is also a very strong front line for their team. It would take the pressure from three members, no trouble. We'll see if the HP pays off now. Inigo Montoya getting chased down by both Macro Step and Spies. Is going to nearly step into the cage, but is going to avoid it for the moment, being a nice two-man route coming out from the center. But there is the Cho'Gath just going down. Too much pressure from the opposing team. That's going to give them free reign to continue pushing. Baron still available, still on their team for the time being. Spy still having the Crow Storm, able to engage from over the wall. We'll see if the next tower push is successful. The wave is a bit far away, so they will have to wait for the minions to join in, but the pick is significant. There's no front line remaining, no one left to soak the Crow Storm in. There is the damage already. Culling going out to Bingo. The Gale Force not quite finding the finishing power, but getting so close there. But it is going to be the rest of Mint Gaming forced off the tower with the threat of Spies on the side there. This Crow Storm having turned so many fights previously, and Malachor getting some free time in the top lane as well on this Aurelia, able to get the side lane, able to find the inner tower. TP coming out into the mid lane, maybe trying to find a pick here. A collapse from Inigo, turning on to Toadstep and Macro Beast. This is a big shutdown if they get it. The Encore finds two, and that is Macro Beast going down. Toadstep to follow. The Crow Storm is going to try and find the members, but for now, it's just Boss Maven going down, and Spies will be traded back with 4 members collapsing onto this mid lane. The timing is good. Macro Step will be able to find their way out for the moment, at least. It is dodge away from 2 abilities, some great side steps there from Macro Step, but this is 3 important kills going down, and the tower next in their sights. The knockup is good. Will there be the follow-up? Bingo slides on forward, shuffles away from the rest of the team, and then Zonia, so maybe a bit of mixed execution there. Malachor here is ready to turn the fight around, immediately takes down Bingo, looking to further continue on to Inigo, but looks like this Cho'Gath will be able to run away from the moment, being one more stun from the Aurelia will not land. So 3 for 1, and the mid tower taken down. A small bit of gold going back onto the side of Mint Gaming, able to find one of the first successful team fights in this game.
Yeah, and don't forget about the flash on a very immobile carry, Vigar, played by Macro Step. The misplay there certainly meant they were going to live. There's been some miscommunication whenever we've seen the Sarima shuffle trying to get in, either pushing away from the knockup on Montoya, or it was in that play like we just saw. So maybe they're not just as comfortable, but the play has been coming out, and they've been able to get some utility from Bingo with this pick as well. So not all is lost. Although at this point, they're probably just going to be having to play towards their base, try and get some of these picks like they have to try and get this through. It's sitting, let's see here, 54,000, 55,000, 62. That's 7,000 difference. And that's a little bit harder to do than they did last game, especially at this stage. So they might be trying to figure out, how am I going to adjust into game 3? What am I going to do? What are the problems, and how could we solve them?
Yeah, and they're trying to find another pick, this time aggressing onto Toadstep, using a lot of resources for this Leona. It is going to be Myers finding the kill, but now finding himself stunned. The GA coming out, and a lot of damage being traded back to Macro Beast, but here's the Crow Storm charging up. 3 members going across to this Fiddlesticks here, and that is the team absolutely getting melted once again. But the reinforcements are here. Inigo finds the teleport onto the backside, or just actually walks straight over, and it is Inigo and Bingo saving the fight there. It is 3 for 3 traded across the map. Malachor unable to join in, teleport not available. So what looks like disaster at the beginning is going to end up being an even trade.
Well, certainly kill-wise, it's going to be even, but an objective is going to be taken by the side of Sun Leviathan, pressuring this tower, which is going to give a little bit of a favor to them. Of course, Baron isn't going to be going down. Preventing that is always a good thing, but that was excellently played from behind. Myers getting some nice picks, and they're trying to use some of that invulnerability like you'd see Master Yi try to do with their Q, their Alpha Strike. just trying to play that around, but they weren't able to be protected. Well, they got shot down with the Guardian Angel being down, being immobile. They were able to get picked off there, and that ultimate coming out of Spy is devastating for the enemy team on Mint Gaming, peeling them through, getting lots of picks, and is going to be setting up for Elder Dragon here, which is a very big game changer for either team.
Yeah, this will be the crucial contest. Just 20 seconds until the objective. A lot of resources were expended in that previous fight. GA not available. All the ultimates for the moment being at least will be up. The cage coming out for Myers is going to catch them out for the time being, but nothing more. Malachor looking on the side potentially for Vanguard's edge on the flank, but is not quite able to find it. Spies positioning for a Crow Storm into the fight. Malachor briefly isolated both teams, jostling for position, jostling for vision, trying to ensure that they will not get surprised by this Fiddlesticks, will not get surprised by this team fight ultimates coming out. Scuttle Crab absolutely melts to the damage at this point in the game, as you would expect. Elder Dragon is started up by Sun Leviathan. Montoya's positioning forward. Myers looking on the side, potentially looking to find a pick. A knockup is good, but Inigo getting caught in the cage for a brief moment. The power of this Vygar zoning is showing itself, and this Cho'Gath going very, very low now off of the damage that Sun Leviathan is able to bring. On the other side, Leviathan still managing to stay fairly healthy. This Vygar is providing so much presence with the zoning tools. The Elder Dragon is going to be started and stopped and started and stopped, but it looks like it is a difficult team fight for Mint to try and find. Malachor looking on the side, Culling coming out, Inigo getting low. It is maybe the finish coming. No, 3-man encore into a 1-man. But there is the Crow Storm coming out on the sideline, taking down one, going to find a second, very nearly. Bingo and Myers trying to find the trade back, is going to get Spies. Inigo is picked up on the other side, but Spies does fall. Now it is Malachor and Toadstep and Macro Step trying to find the engage. Zenith Blade does not land, but the cage is good. Flashed away from, but there is the Aurelia stun. Malachor going to try and get traded back by Myers, but is unable to be found. The Primordial Burst is going to ensure that their team will stay alive. The base being channeled. Bingo now stuck. Looking onto Macro Beast, actually one auto away from finding the kill, but will not find it. 4 members of some Leviathan still standing. They will just turn onto the objective. Only 1 member of Mint Gaming staying alive. And once again, it is the Crow Storm turning the fight. It is Sun Leviathan winning the team fight and now picking up the Elder Dragon.
Yeah, Elder Dragon, very devastating, and with the death timers being as long as they are, they can get a nice reset, get the HP up, and then go to Baron and secure their. Not that they necessarily need it with 11,000 gold difference. That's you can just start any fight, really. You can just say, "We're fighting here. We're fighting now with Elder. You're gonna die." If you thought Primordial Burst had a bit of an execute before, wait until you slap on an Elder Dragon buff. That is gonna be harmful. If that's not going to kill you outright, you're going to be so low, you'll be out of the fight for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And we're seeing around that Elder contest there just how difficult it is for Mint Gaming to try and find an inroads here. It's not like the previous game where Myers was able to offer a lot of disruption just coming in and out of the fights over walls, where Inigo was able to find the charge from the flank on the Kled to blow open the team fight. Instead, this time it is the members just trying to jostle for position. The Rek'Sai is unable to provide much value from over the wall when all 5 members are assembled together. Instead, it's been Spies turning things around. It's been Macro Step zoning, it's slowly chunking with these Vygar cages. And so right now it is Leviathan using their team comp to the best of their ability, and Mint trying to hold their own at their inhib towers. Myers going on to Malachor once again, but this Aurelia is fairly tanky now. Maybe even trying to find a kill back with the Elder buff, but is not quite able to commit to it. Meanwhile, 4 members still sieging down onto this mid lane, looking for the tower. Looks like it will be given for the moment. Culling going down to Amox, almost burning down to Elder, but is going to survive for the moment being, as the rest of Sun Leviathan push onto the inhibitor, does take it down, turning their attention now to the top side. You've got to think this is where the end starts to collapse, looking
Yep.
for these last few objectives.
Yeah, we talked about how this composition needed to come together, and it came
Oh,
together nicely with Elder and Baron and with the Soul. They were able to successfully summon Exodia here and take this game. It's not quite over yet, but with this final fight, probably going to be enough to take the enemy Nexus or get so much pressure. There's not going to be a whole lot of breathing room for Mint Gaming at this point.
Yeah, looking so hard to hold. It's just hard to imagine what combination of abilities they can even put together to find a successful team fight here. They are trying to find one more inhibitor here in the top lane, but it looks like for now, Mint Gaming has secured enough positional advantage to hold things off, just losing one inhibitor off of that push. Elder will expire soon, as will the Baron. So the scariest moment of the game is over, but it is still a 14,000 gold lead at this point in the game. Sure, different members across the teams are getting their items, so the gold lead will mean less over time, but for now, it is still significant item advantage over to the members of Sun Leviathan.
Yeah, some of the gold disadvantage is going to be coming from all these waves and all this pressure that's coming and all the extra value you get out of Dragon Soul and some of these objectives, the extra pressure that doesn't have necessarily have a gold value and the XP lead. You know, Macrobeast has already hit level 18. Amox is still 16. So they're not going to have those skill points. And of course, they're all going to have all of their points into their ultimate. Bots Maven and Toadstep being fairly even here, but that's not going to be enough. For anyone who's curious at this point, Montoya's crossed the 8K threshold for HP right now.
Yeah, very bulky indeed, but this Vigar also is going to be a big threat. 1,500 ability power
Oh
on this
gosh,
Vigar, so
I didn't
it's
even
going to be
look
a
at
little
that. I forgot.
disgusting. Yeah,
Oh,
Toadstep is going to get caught out here onto the top lane, so a nice pick onto Leona, but Bingo has to flash out just to stay alive there against the Culling, and meanwhile, Malachor is still pushing with not a worry in the world into this top lane, is going to be able to secure the inhibitor. Bots maybe and Amox are being sent to try and match, but Aurelia can likely 1v2 them at this point in the game. Macro Beast flashing to the side and burning the stopwatch, potentially a bit of a misclick there, or maybe it's a bit of disrespect. Who can say? Either way around, they're going to be sieging against this bottom tower now, looking for the 4v5, 24 seconds before Toadstep comes back onto the map. So looks like they're not going to opt into that numbers disadvantage fight. Is going to back off for just the moment being. Myers trying to find another pick here onto Macro Step. The cage is down, but Myers finds himself in the middle of 3, and GA is burnt here. Now Malachor gets a stun. The Encore is extended, but the Crow Storm is even better. Turned right around, and Malachor now dashing into the rest of the team. Bingo with a shuffle forwards and backwards, aggressing onto Malachor, but this Aurelia is so tanky, and Macro Beast has got the damage. Malachor continuing to push forward here. It is now just Amox and Boss Maven trying to hold against 4 members of Sun Leviathan. You gotta imagine that's probably not a successful hold. We got minion waves crashing in from the mid lane, from the top lane now, and 4 members ready to push these waves into the Nexus. Still 30, 40 seconds before the members of Mint Gaming can respawn. Look at that!
oh
That
my
was
gosh.
QR absolutely exploding Bots Maven there. Just a single Q. They're 60% of their HP. This Vigar certainly doing boatloads of damage. And now, with all 5 members assembled together, going on to the Nexus, it is going to be Sun Leviathan bringing the series 1-1, tying it up. Both teams looking to take their game 3.
Yeah, it looked like it was Bias with a chance of Crow Storm here, playing a pivotal role in all of these team fights. There's probably a strong chance for this to be banned out here. Effie Myers not able to utilize the pick as much as they would like. Of course, they were absorbing a lot of bans early on, pressuring them to take it. An early pick in the draft phase before they got even more bans on their side. We'll have to see how Mint Gaming adjusts in game 3 to try and take this series being 1-1 right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the adjustments coming out from Sun in this game too. They said, okay, you want Senna Seraphine, you want that safe scaling? We're not going to give it to you. We're going to run Lucian Leona, and we are going to just go in and kill your bot lane repeatedly until the gap there is too much for you to handle. And this Fiddlesticks answer into the Rek'Sai is wonderful. They know how much Myers has played this champion, and they said, we're not going to believe that you're going to have the early impact you're going to need. And when the team fights come around, we're going to stick as 5. We're not going to get picked out, and we're going to use this Crow Storm to just absolutely turn these fights around. And this is exactly what we saw in this game too. So we'll see what kind of adjustments Mint might be able to come up with in game 3. I mean, we did see Inigo secure a really great advantage turning around the top lane matchup in this second game. So maybe with the right amount of pressure in the right places on the map, Mint can pick up this third game, but we'll have to wait until draft to see what the teams do.
Yeah, it'll be an exciting game three, 1-1. This is going to be pushing them on to the next step into the bracket. We're already at week four, so we're starting to get to a close. So these are important games to be taking here. We'll have to see what happens next. We'll be right back while we get ready for the draft phase in game three. Go. Hello and welcome back to game three. It's going to be an exciting match. Sun Leviathan versus MYNT Gaming. Mint Gaming here, taking back at the red side for that counter pick. We'll have to see if there's more junglers being banned here. It's been very pivotal about how all these team fights have been going and how the game's macro has been playing as a whole.
Yeah, and it looks like so far already five jungle bans coming out for both sides. It is not going to be six. Silas still going to be off the table, not going to let Macro Step have that one. But with five junglers taken off the table and two of them that we've seen already have a big impact in this series, we'll see what these two players are going to be able to dig out of their pools. Sun Leviathan has the blue pick available. We'll see what they end up prioritizing.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they end up prioritizing. Jarvan is pretty interesting. He gets first picked a lot, enables a lot of stuff. Maybe we'll see like a Misfortune carry to pair with a lot of zoning or other utilities that really want to see a compact team do a lot of AoE damage. Maybe Annie will return here as well. And we'll have to see if Mint ends up going with Caitlyn, trying to win more in the bot lane, get some of those extra plates, get that extra damage, harass them. We're not seeing the Senna and Seraphine sort of sustained that game plan hasn't been working as much, but it looks like picks and kind of bullying people out with some scaling and stacks is still going to be a primary game plan for Mint Gaming. Do you think that's going to be enough as is, or do we think we're going to need a little bit more utility out of these players from Mint Gaming to try and secure this game?
I like the change up. I mean, I think that Sun Leviathan have showed that they have an answer into the Senna Seraphine bot lane. They're going to just pick aggressive champions, and it looks like the side of Mint was not able to soak that pressure successfully. And with the J4 coming out too, I mean, that is a powerful ganking champion that's only going to exacerbate the issue. So I do like the swap over to maybe a more traditional carry style. Zaya is going to be picked up for Leviathan, and this has been a champion that has really been up and coming recently. Potentially one of the best AD carries in the current meta, just offering so much damage and utility at various stages of the game. Paired with the J4, you can already start looking like a very scary bot lane here. J4 also with the shield changes recently has made it a much more durable champion. Certainly an impactful buff, and Annie is going to be once again picked
Yeah,
up for the side of Leviathan.
Smurfing in draft phase, as always, predicting the Annie coming out, all that burst damage. Zaya's so strong right now, being able to do stuff, a lot of anti dive, which is kind of what Mint's Gaming's game plan has been. Just kind of go in, kill them, and get those resets. But Zaya is really good at stopping that. Three feathers, and you're going to be rooted. And of course, you're untargetable for just a moment with your ultimate, able to reposition. You can't go over walls, of course, but with some of these choke points, just being able to yoink your feathers back and prevent any of that damage going on to you and stopping and slowing the fight to the pace that you need. Make sure your Annie has her fourth spell up to try and even CC more, burst down some targets as well. It's exactly what you need to be doing. So a nice objective based game like we've been seeing from Sun Leviathan. They've been able to execute it very well into game two.
Yeah, the instant lockdown burst combo from this bot lane, assuming that this is a bot lane being picked here, is certainly very potent. And Zaya is one of those champions that also scales incredibly well. I mean, late
Mm-hmm.
game, it's just press W and you're winning. It looks like Mint is picking up a lot of beef boys once again. Swain Cho'Gath working out really well in that previous game, and it was a champion that was taken as a counter into the Aurelia. So we'll see if Someone they have a better answer this time around now that they get the selection of counter pick. And it's going to be mid lane targeted very heavily in the phase two of the ban phase. Vigar taken out. They saw the zoning potential from that previous game. Swain Cho'Gath not champions that can just skip over a cage easily. So eliminating that as a possibility. Ryzen
Yep.
and Azir, these scaling champions. I mean, we saw the impact Bingo had in that first game are going to be taken off the table as well. And it's going to be Kindred answered as the jungle matchup, a champion that can certainly explode onto the scene and become unstoppable should they start getting a lead. So definitely a different flavor coming out from the Mint Gaming jungler, not
Yep.
going for these assassin picks anymore.
Yeah, not going for these assassin picks, not seeing one of those diving champions, going for more scaling. Although there's still some invades trying to get some of those earlier marks. Hitting the power of 4 marks is going to be very important here. And of course, Viger being banned and no longer seeing the fiddlesticks to kind of disrupt part of Mint's gaming game plan. They're still going to have a nice, neat shell with a nice swing kind of in between to protect them and a beefy Cho'Gath up in front and making sure that they're not going to be able to die. We'll have to see how they're going to close out their composition, how they're going to utilize this counter pick on red side, being it's not going to be on top side like you would typically see. We're playing for the middle lane here, trying to get some of those rotations, trying to stop the Cassiopeia rotations, and trying to get some of our own as well.
Yeah, and then both teams have a lot of playmaking potential here. We do see Leviathan going back to the Kled here. We saw the power that the Charge had in the first game, and we might just get a run back. But on the opposite side, Mint Gaming and Shogath is perfectly happy to eat the Kled ult, the Annie ult, pretty much any ult you want to throw at them. Kindred is there ready to soak any burst that comes out from Annie J4. But, meanwhile, for the Leviathan side, we've got Castiel that can easily tear through this Swain Cho'Gath front line. We got Syndra on the opposite side with a lot of pick potential, burst potential. So both teams have a lot of tools at their disposal to make this game three happen and make it happen they will need to do should they want to win this playoff series.
Yeah, something that they're certainly going to want. Cassiopeia's extra movement speed is going to help dodge some of Syndra's skill shots. Of course, once they get some of those stacks, it's going to be a little bit harder to dodge, even with the levels being your skill shots are a little bit more generous, especially with how the range ends up playing as well.
Just something from me?
Yeah, and for me, as we get into this, there's going to be a couple things I'm going to be looking at. I want to see, is the Kindred able to get rolling here? How will they start playing around these marks? Are they going to be able to find an advantage? If they do, J4's life is going to be very difficult. Not the fastest clear. Going to have to resort to finding successful ganks around the map.
The weak
Isn't
fear
Leviathan
the
going to be able to put
shadows.
together their team
Fear
combo?
controls
Get the
them.
Jarvan Annie, the Kled engage, the Cassio kiting, Zaya kiting back against these big tanks, or will Mint Gaming successfully be able to ward that off with the Kindred ult? Will they be able to find picks on their bot lane with the Swing Caitlyn combo? Will they be able to use the Syndra Scatter the Weak to find things in the mid game? So lots of questions coming into this final game.
Yeah, Swain's root timer isn't quite enough for Caitlyn to get it, just place a trap. The timing's a little tight, so we might not be able to see that over. But Swain can certainly pull them into the Yordle trap, trying to get that headshot combo off. Of course, she doesn't have her auto resets anymore, but the harass onto Zaya, it's a pretty favored matchup for Caitlyn having the extra range. So Zaya's going to have a little bit harder time trying to scale here as well. It'll be a very exciting game to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Caitlyn Swain is a lane that can certainly bully Zaya and Annie early on, at least. The range advantage from these two champions is pretty significant, and outside of Annie Shield, your tools to respond are not the greatest if the opponent's spaced properly. So we'll have to see if they are able to do just that. So final picks once again are being locked in into this pivotal game three. Both teams are gearing up for a series that is going the distance here. So we'll have to see how things shake out
Your
on the Rift,
effort
and we'll catch
shall
you soon
return.
as soon as they get in the game.
Hello and welcome back to Summer's Rift in an exciting game 3 with Mythic Gaming versus Leviathan. We'll have to see who takes it. Both sides taking a standard 5 point, trying to get some of those early pixel brush wards. Possibly a skirmish here. Myers not being able to get a whole lot here. Although this fight
Yeah,
is
flag and drag
extending.
is a little bit less good when it is just the flag. So Myers is going to be able to stay just fine there. Bots may have been looking for a bit of a cheeky pull there for level 1, but not going to get it. And some interesting summer spell choices coming out once again. Bots maybe here opting for the exhaust on the swing, even though they're running electrocute. So the kill pressure in this lane is going to be a little bit lower. Meanwhile, Malachor definitely looking for a lot of kill pressure on this top lane as they opt to take the ignite. And with a cleanse in the mid lane coming out for macro step, that will mean that Sun Leviathan will not have any teleports available in this third game.
Yet no teleports, but they're certainly going to have the combat summoner spells to just leverage that, try and transition the combat summoner spells into a gold lead and gold leads into objectives, towers, and push from there, or just try and get some of these waves managed. We've seen wave management playing a huge role in these games. It's absolutely phenomenal to be able to see that utilized correctly.
Yeah, and right now we're gonna have both junglers pathing top to bot as well. Bot's maybe looking for a bit of a check there, but Tailstep does sidestep and gets a bit of a trade back here on the Annie. But maybe we're gonna see an early gank of some sort coming out here with the Kindred. Looks like they're going to just go directly red, blue, Gromp, and a lot of damage traded out against Toadstep already early on in the game.
Yeah, getting extra procs when you're in a bush for your head shot on Caitlyn, very important. Almost getting the stack there on Swain, trying to get some extra damage in there. Very aggressive with a Mox, going with a longsword 3-pot rather than a Dorian's blade like Macro Beast is doing, understanding that they're in a kill lane setup.
Yeah, Macro Beast trying to take advantage of the level 2, but here comes the Kindred already. Amox needs to kill that minion to hit level 2 themselves, and they do so. So Myers is going to get ignited here, but the flash follow from Bots Maven is going to secure first blood for Myers. A nice pickup there on the Annie. Kindred gank paying dividends here, actually just doing 2 camps and then immediately going in for the gank, but looks like Spice is ready to respond in kind, waiting in the tri-bush, seeing if they can find some sort of a response here. Bot Maven is already out of all their summoners, but with the Annie still waiting to come back into the lane, looks like they are going to back off for now. Nico Montoya is actually getting a big trade, but Malachor here has got the rebound. Flash and flash follow. It is going to be Malachor getting the kill there in the top lane. A clutch remount on the Kled and a flash on the tower to secure it.
Yeah, turning things back to how the bot lane ended up playing for first blood. An extra person secures the kill there, trying to pressure some stuff off, the extra damage from longsword, and of course the wave being where it is with the vision, getting that line up, and then you're able to play a safer top side, go for them those fights, the combat summoners, rather than teleport, and you're so aggressive on a Kled, able to get a return kill there is very important. Just something to note, Myers did not get a stack from the bot lane, did not have the mark on Annie, even though they got the kill.
Yeah, unfortunately spawning on the opposite side of the map here and trying to find some damage onto Macro Step here. Does get the passive proc off, but the flag and drag will trade it right back for the Jarvan. And a nice pull from Macro Beast is going to find the kill onto Bots Maven. The Swain falling here without the flash available. And now a big wave crashing in. Likely not going to get the knight here from Amok. So it's going to pick it up. Meanwhile here, Malachor charging in once again onto this Cho'Gath here, taking the wrong side of a lot of these early trades. This Kled is finding advantages here.
Being pushed off the wave here, not going to be able to rotate to any potential scuttle fight, which Myers really wants to do to try and get those early stacks, make sure they're a real champion, and just be able to be utilized a little bit more, do that extra damage. Of course, having a Noon Quiver this early on is very good, but it looks like we're getting caught out here again under tower.
Yeah, Malachor just finding a kill once again. Kindred is wanting to trade it back. Is going to forego the mark to try and make this gank happen. But Malachor is happy to just sit in the bush. And with both Cassio and J4 in the area, just not going to be able to offer enough support. to find the gank there. Amok still
They,
staying in lane here,
they
was able to pick up all the resources.
they were able to pick up the resources and they still get the mark there. So they're sitting there at 1 mark, able to take the scuttle crab, which is good, and they're not bleeding as much gold as they would the enemy team might be wanting with how that wave was pushed up. Although a lot has been blowing out from Magneto Montoya's, although he's been able to spend his gold as he's been sent back to the fountain, and Malachor has not quite been able to do that. So he's gonna want to get this wave bounced back without having TP, and just because some of that gold spent, it's probably burning a hole in his pocket. Already sitting at 800. That's a nice chunk of change early on to try and get some of these trades.
And Malachor on ultimate though and is going to remount, so is going to still successfully continue the bullying here in this top lane, despite the shopping advantage that Cho'Gath has been able to make here. This Kled Cho'Gath matchup has been a big shining light for the members of Sun Leviathan, who otherwise on the map has been going even a little bit behind here. Going to try and crash this wave all the way in and then potentially get a base off here. Toadstep looking for a stun onto the Caitlyn, not going to find it, is going to turn onto Swain instead, but here comes Myers. Exhaust going on to Macro Beast, but the slow is invested onto Toadstep instead, and Spies is here ready to turn it. Flag and Drag is going to miss. Myers trying to find one more auto, is not going to be able to find it. It goes down to the Ignite of Toadstep, and now Bots Maven is really low, just needs one or two more autos to finish things off. It is going to be the Incinerate auto to pick things up, looking for the dive onto Apex. Caitlyn does turn it back, so maybe a little bit over ambitious there from Toadstep there. Ultimately still is a 1-for-2 advantage going over to Sun Leviathan. It is Annie picking up both of those kills, but look at this, a huge wave is going to be denied from Amox here, so still a nice play for the bot side, turning it right around as Spies is able to offer their support.
Yeah, Toadstep getting all the kills there and being able to be supported by Spias as well, trying to get the return, getting some of those extra kills surely is going to help them. And with the wave crashing the way it is, Macro Beast is going to be getting some of these plates, unlike Amox, who really wants that wave pressure and trying to bully there, because that's when Caitlyn's strongest. That's when you get to use your champion the most. The only other time is post level 13 when you're going to get some of these power spikes. You're going to be able to utilize all this crit you've accrued, and your headshot's going to do all the damage that you need it to do.
Yeah, usually Caitlyn, the champion that does want to be getting the push, but another scuffle in the top lane here. Ignite burn once more, but Inigo Montoya still going to live for the moment being. Remount coming up soon. Spies and Myers scuffling here in the bottom side. The Annie getting in a bit of an invade. Both sides of the map being very tense here. Malachor is going to go for the remount. Are they going to look for the dive? Looks like not going to be going for it just for the time being. Both sides back off.
Yeah, Montoya being very short on mana means they're going to be vulnerable to a dive here, especially with the ultimate, although it looks like it's missing the flash.
Yeah, the ultimate and the flash both expended there. Malachor just doing a loop-to-loop on one side of a tower and then another. But yeah, because the mana is so low and Feast is not available, Kled is not in danger of dying there. Mingo there almost getting the kill onto Macro Step. A nice turn from Myers to not get petrified, but the Miasma, enough of a slow to save their life there. Now Amox getting found out by Toadstep stun, does have to expend the cleanse there. Macro Step with some nice footwork, dodging the Scatter of the Weak, is still able to survive against this Syndra for a moment longer. A third play going down, but a nice Swain route pulling onto Toadstep, now forced to flash in response there. The Annie shutdown very nearly going over.
Yeah, the Annie shutdown going. That would have been quite great on Caitlyn, who already has tier 2 boots, trying to get some of those extra autos, weave stuff in, use the fleet footwork, and really execute that to their advantage. Speaking of lane bullies, Macro Step is being bullied by Bingo here. Just kind of getting artillery maged under tower, which is what you want to be doing as an artillery mage. Shove the wave and try and bully them. Make sure they don't get any resets, and bleed farm on a scaling pick.
Yeah, Macro Beast here in a 1v2 though, trying to look for the trade onto Bots Maven, but having to expend both the ultimate and the heal, feeling maybe a little bit too frisky, stepping up to both Caitlyn Swain there. So maybe a little bit of over-eagerness, but at least will still stay alive here, able to pick up 3 plates already on this bottom tower off of the back of that good play earlier. Caitlyn Swain, usually the lane that wants to be pushing, but is unable to get the push for the moment being. Xayah decisively having the advantage down here, bot.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the worst thing to not have the push, although it looks like the cage is coming in, forcing out a flash on Montoya trying to save here. When you
Yeah.
have an engage lane in the bot lane, it's fine to be closer to your tower, being the enemy has to walk further to theirs, try and get some picks, and use that extra space to run them down. Certainly, I'm going to be doing that as Caitlyn, but with the advantage laying out the way it is, it looks like Macro Beast is just being able to push here, especially because of those extra jungle hovers earlier on. It looks like Dragon's going to be changed first here for Mint Gaming rather than Leviathan, but they're going to be taking an early Rift Herald for some extra gold, some extra pressure, and extending their gold lead just a little bit, an objective for an objective.
Yeah, good response from Myers here. Does see Spies showing presence in the top side, immediately turns on to the jungle, despite the fact that Sun Leviathan has been the bot lane that has had the advantage, and despite their bot lane being pretty low. It is Rift Herald traded on the top side, and the Kindred mark denied by the J4 as well. Kindred here still staying on just one mark here at 11 minutes in the game. Definitely wants to pick up a few more of those should they be possible to find, but with losing matchups currently in both the top and the bottom lane, it's going to be a little bit difficult. And in the mid lane, it's gonna the miasma and the petrifying gaze is going to make a pick a little bit difficult to find as well.
For sure. And one thing to note, we're already down to 2 plates on the side of Mint Gaming. So that Eye of the Rift Herald is going to be able to take that bot tower, and Macrobeast could move to the mid lane or swatch the top lane, where they're probably going to be able to kind of hit Montoya with a range advantage. And Macro Steps is still going to be able to stay safe in the mid lane, weave and dodge all of Syndra's balls, trying to slap and take her life, but they'll be able to scale fairly safe should that be the case.
Yeah, and we do see Sun Leviathan's bot lane clearing out some more vision here, potentially setting up an ultimate trap with the Annie Isaiah combo here. And Gaming playing a little respectfully, using the swaying eye to check the bushes, finding where the trap might be hiding. But here comes Spies trying to find a little bit more on the J4. The Annie ultimate does come down early, but it is going to be cleansed away. Macro Beast not close enough to follow it up, so maybe the cleanse didn't even need to be expended there, but Amox opting to use it just for safety. But here comes Spies, ready to lane gank, will get spotted out by the ward should they proceed to the next bush, but does not do so for the moment being, just wants to get this wave in, use the Rift Herald to secure that first tower.
Yeah, securing that first tower just like protected, although it looks like a little bit of poking out is going to be down here. Toadstep having to execute.
Yeah, a lot of damage traded out to Toadstep. The Swain ultimate burned, standing perilously close to the feathers there, but the pole is not available just yet, so is going to stay alive. That is going to be Herald going down. Myers is going to try and respond here. Amox flashing away from the engage, but now that does mean Spies is going to go in with the Cataclysm, gets traded back by Myers. Toadstep flashing away as well, but Macro Beast 1 HP does use the Feather Storm, but the clutch Kindred ulti is good, saves themselves and gets the kill onto Caitlyn. Toadstep forced to run away as fast as they can. First tower does fall with those 2 remaining plates, but a nice counterplay to get a few kills back.
Yeah, ace in the hole, just waiting for the ultimate to come out, because once the bullet's been fired, the cooldown's up. So once you know that's down, you're able to safely go in. Feast not quite catching it, and that looks like we're going to be dying topside. That's more plates, more gold on the side of Malcor here. Splitting open the sides. It's not mid lane. We're going to get some pressure here, but with the side lanes being pushed as well, mid's going to be so much more vulnerable here, and that's going to be able to get some extra objectives, whether you want Rift Herald, whether you want Dragon, or you're just going to be trying to push for some of these waves and try and extend any CS leads that you already have, which they do in the top lane and in the bot lane, which is enough of a lead to really try and take the game. Starting at 2,000 gold with the laning phase just ending.
Yeah, Kled is just a master at turning around these low HP engagements. Syndra is a master at finding picks. Toadstep very nearly going down, and the flash orb is going to find it. Bingo, finding the kill there off of the back of a great summoner spell expenditure. 1 minute until Dragon, so Annie will be back up to contest the objective as well. Kled, this terrifying force here on the already picking up the Ravenous Hydra. Maybe looking
Yeah.
for a bit of a pick here in the mid lane is the members of Mint Gaming, but no, Macro Step going to just step away successfully. Both teams getting their resets in. A lot of mythics coming out, all 5 on the side of Leviathan, 3 of them secured on the side of Mint Gaming as both
Yeah.
are collapsing in towards the objective.
Yeah, Bingo be balling here with 2 kills, getting a lot out of there, utilizing the pick, and just those rotations, like I was saying before, pushing, getting the rotations, the waves being very important in this setup for Dragon, that the fight's occurring now.
Yeah, Toadstep being found out here, but is able to successfully stay alive, and Inigo taking a lot of damage in
Oh,
response.
he's
Petrifying
lucky.
Gaze used early, but here comes the engage Cataclysm and Charge coming in very quickly. Bottom even going down very low. Is going to be found out by the Kled now on the double kill. Toadstep stepping forward as is Macro Beast. The double kill going over to the Zaya as well, and there's a team fight blowing wide open. Leviathan taking down 4 members of Mint Gaming almost instantly off an explosive engage from Spies and Malachor.
Yeah, just being able to utilize those choke points to land a lot of those CC. Of course, Petrifying Gaze didn't land because people were walking away, but nonetheless, a lot of other summoners were able to be landed and some ultimates as well, turning the fight, getting some kills, and turning to take this first dragon. The extra healing and shielding certainly helps with some of these picks, especially if you have Seraphine's Embrace, which is probably going to be put on Macro Step. Any of the shielding that you're going to be having on Spias's kit, and any of the healing you're going to have from Ravenous Hydras just going to be extended, making them a little bit stronger. And with Hexel coming, a lot of plays with the Hex Gates are going to be coming because you're able to move freely between your base a little bit further, meaning some of these timers can be waited out. The back timers can change for some of these objectives and really change up the game. And of course, Hexel is a very big game changer, able to secure games on its own, one of the stronger buffs in the game.
Yeah, the strongest win rate soul in the game, and it looks like members of Sun Leviathan are assembling now in the top side, maybe looking for a pick on this top laner, maybe just looking for the Herald. Looks like Mint Gaming is aware of this, pulling up all 5 members to this top side as well. Malachor is going to start going on to Inigo early on, but the rest of the members are here ready to collapse. A lot of vision is available for Sun Leviathan though, so they will spot this movement. They will spot all 4 members here assembled. It is Macro Beast freely pushing there on the bot side. They're looking for a pick onto Macro Step, but here comes the Kled charge, descending upon the members, trying to find them. F.E. Myers, the first person in their sights. The Swain ult is committed already, as is the Kindred ult, so that can be their saving grace. A 3-man petrifying stun is good, but the Kindred ult will be able to save the rest of the team from going down. A lot of resources expended, no kills traded back, but Macro Beast does pick up a lot of resources there on the bot side, and now they will have to swing around to pick up the rest of the wave.
Yeah, they're going to have to stick around to do that. And of course, Ace in the Hole being a guaranteed hit unless you get a body block, but then you're still hitting someone, trying to poke people out, making sure that this wave goes under, trying to siege a little bit. Bingo and Amox can really sit there and try and hit people, seeing if they have a B5, trying to get that Bingo onto the board, trying to execute the game and set it for some of these objectives.
Yeah, we're seeing some of these team fights coming really close.
The
Macro
Gale
Step gets
Force.
engaged on the Gale Force and
Gale.
killed over. Peacemaker brings peace to Macro Step as they are forced to go to sleep back in the fountain there. A nice pick off the back of Bingo. This Syndra maybe is going to be the tool that will allow them to come back here. And, in the rest of the team fights, we've seen a little bit of trouble as Mint Gaming really wants this front line to be working in order for their comp to come together. They need this Cho'Gath and Swain to be able to absorb the engage, but these are 2 of the members that are most behind right now, not able to build up the HP they need to accomplish their objective. But in the smaller skirmishes, it is Bingo on this intro. It is Myers with this Kindred ulti saving the team or finding these picks, and these are the places where Mint Gaming might have a chance of coming back.
Yeah, Myers kind of learning from last game. You can't heal a dead target, trying to keep their team members alive, trying to stop any potential burst and turn around. That ultimate has been a game changer, as you are with Kindred. And of course, Bingo is being able to get a lot of utility here. Amox has been able to shine a little bit more than these last games because some of these actions have been coming elsewhere on the map. Bot lane has been getting quite as much love as you normally see, with some tents not being pitched there, rather in topside. So it's going to be an interesting game for turning around. And we're only seeing a 4K gold lead. It's a familiar scenario from game one and game two, but it certainly can be dropped and changed around. We'll have to see if a Baron's going to be taken. There's been some earlier Barons. I'm guessing not with how these teams have been going.
Yeah, Malachor's getting the dismount here, trying to find the remount on, but the Kindred damage is good. 800 gold shutdown going over to Myers. Much needed gold here on the Kindred, and this is one of these picks that can definitely bring things back in the game. Unfortunately, still only at just 2 marks. They are going to have to base, give up the Raptor invade to assemble back, try and find this dragon fight here. But as we look at the gold lead, most of this are on scattered members. It is a macro beast here with a 1,500 gold lead over Amox, and most crucially, Malachor with a huge gold lead over Inigo, over a full item up against this Cho'Gath. But on the rest of the map, it's actually Mint Gaming that has the lead. It is Myers and Bingo with significant leads over their counterparts. And speaking of that, look at that, a giant Scatter the Weak getting the team fight started. Spies and Toadstep already crucially low. Macro Beast getting caught up by the CC chain, and there's a slow from Myers coming out. The shutdown going, finding the Zaya. Sure, Botsman even gets traded by Macro Step, but that is a trade you're happy to take. Malachor is back on the map now, but the charge is wasted. Just run into by Nigos Montoya's absorbing that ultimate, that key ability there, and now they're going to look for the dragon. It's not going to be contested by the members of Leviathan. They're going to just look for the mid lane instead, but this Hextech Drake is going to secure a dragon advantage. The second one going over for their team off the back of some really nice picks set up by Bingo.
Yeah, dragging that fight out, trying to get a good setup, get some of those picks out, get a kill there on Macro Beast. Very important. Who already has Navori's, which is a big power spike with Zaya. A lot of your damage does come from your E hitting all those feathers, where you can get like 10 of them stacked up. Of course, there is a little bit of reduction for each feather hit, but it's still a lot. And of course, getting some of that damage on Kraken as well, making sure they're out of the fight, getting some of those picks, and getting that dragon is important. Extra attack speed on champions like Caitlyn and Kindred is very important. And of course, with artillery mages, Syndra, that's also really important. It's going to help enable stuff.
Yeah, Malachor is able to take out that top lane inner. A lot of gold going over to their pockets once again. Mint Gaming a little bit slow on the rotate, so not quite able to find the pick in response. And, off the back of that fight, actually, Effie Myers getting 2 big shutdowns from the top lane and the ADC, becoming the strongest player in the game currently in terms of gold. That's a familiar picture. That's exactly what we saw in game 1. And it was just a few picks there, a team fight in game 1 around the dragon that turned things around. So maybe that will be the turning point in game 3 as well. Mint Gaming still in a gold deficit currently, decisively still in a map control deficit, but Bingo helping to find some of these crucial picks. And as we say that, Macro Beast taking a big chunk here in the mid lane as well. Should that continue to be the pattern, Mint Gaming might have a path to victory here.
Yeah, that is kind of important. As well as Myers still hasn't been able to get the 4th mark that they need. They're still sitting at 2, I believe, which means they're not going to be quite as online as they would like to be. Not able to get some of these invades, only getting like a Raptor and a kill for their stacks. Once that's online, they're going to be a lot more lethal. We'll probably see more of what we saw game 1, unless they end up dying here. It looks like Myers is going to be safe, but mid lane is probably going to be sieged with top and mid being shoved. There's potential for a Baron fight to be happening. There are some TPs that can be leveraged, but I don't think Montoya can just let Malachor split push top lane, because he's able to take so much with how much damage he has. With a fully stacked Ravenous Hydra and an Eclipse, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, Cho'Gath not able to absorb the pressure, but looks like it's actually just going to be Baron started right away. And look at how fast it is melting. Cassiopeia and Zai, these champions will absolutely tear apart the objective. But this is Kindred with the ultimate, the master at securing these kinds of objectives. Will they get it? No, they will not. It is the feather pullback that is going to secure the objective. Macro Beast with that pull, finding the Baron. Now Montoya is going to go down. Securing the Baron through the Kindred ultimate, through the Cho'Gath feast. The timing was not quite there. Macro Beast and the rest of Sun Leviathan make a bold call to go for the objective and are rewarded for their efforts.
Yeah, it was a bold kill. Getting some of those kills means that the Baron buff isn't going to be on one more champion, which is good. Of course, two people dying and the enemy team getting the objective means the gold lead isn't going to be where they want to be. But none of the waves are currently pushed past the halfway mark. So there's a little bit of time before these are going to be crashing to the tower, especially being top and bot are closer to your fountain. Mid, though, probably going to be falling here. Amox isn't going to be able to necessarily save some of these waves once the team kind of reassembles with like the Avengers and try and take some of these towers.
Yeah, it looks like some members might be collapsing here onto Malachor, though. Does have the charge to disengage if they are able to use it, but can it be blocked? It is flashing away to
Flash.
try and get to safety, but a follow flash from Amigo does get the dismount, but the remount is coming up shortly. Just needs one more auto, does find the remount, and then just dashes straight out of there. Three members chasing onto this top laner down bot, but look at the rest of the map. Their base is going to just absolutely fall apart here. Malachor very nearly finds a trade back onto Myers, but it is the mid lane inner tower going down. Amox just left to hold this solo against three members of Sun Leviathan. The teleport coming back to try and hold the top lane tower. The rest of the members finally collapsing in. Oh, a nice stun there onto Toadstep and will be found. Bots Maven picking that one up. Another great stun coming out from the Syndra there. Maybe looking for a little bit more against Macro Step here. Are they able to find it? The Cho'Gath knockup is good. The cleanse and flash away, though, is going to keep them alive. Macro Beast steps on the trap. The Gale Force in, but the Feather pullback. Both ADCs trying their best to stay alive here. So many resources expended on both sides, but ultimately, that's going to be the turret going down. Macro Beast staying alive, dodging the vision. No, not dodging the vision of Empire, burning down to the Leandries. That is huge. They are not going to be alive for this dragon. This is Hextech Soul Point. That's going to be picked up by Min Gaming, unless Spies is going to be able to find a steal of a lifetime.
Yeah, that was quite the pick there coming out of Bots Maven. This is going to be a nice soul point to hit there. Both teams playing like micro beasts, trying to utilize their advantages, playing some of these skirmishes very well. That was a lot of stuff being executed, a lot of abilities being used for these cooldowns. Baron is probably going to be coming down fairly soon from here. So they're not going to be able to utilize this anymore. It looks like it's just tapering off. So it's going to be calming down a little bit, although the wave pressure is going to be a lot on the side of Leviathan. Being so many of these towers are down, and there's only one tower on the side of Mint Gaming.
Yeah, Malachor is going to find Myers, and the Blast Cone is taken early, so Myers is not going to be able to use that to go to safety. Malachor now being forced out of the Kindred ulti. The rest of the team is there, ready to support. Another Scatter of the Week going on to Toadstep, so Toadstep once again is going to fall. This Syndra is keeping their team in the game. Bingo here with this nice pick. Another knockup going on to Malachor, but the Ace in the Hole will be tanked up, but will not be tanked up is another Scatter of the Week, but here comes Macro Beast trying to turn things around. Bingo now unstoppable, finding the kill onto Jarvan. Inigo is going to fall in trade. Macro Beast there getting hit with the Vision of Empire. Another stun coming out. No summoners available, but the rest of the team is too far to offer support. 2-for-1 scuffle down there in the top jungle.
Yeah, an exciting fight, being able to utilize some of those choke points, trying to land some of those skill shots and succeeding, getting the damage they need, and then getting some crucial shutdowns and some of those kills. With jungle being down, they're not going to be able to rotate and try and stop some of these marks. Although in this case, it looks like they're just going to be settling for a tower here, trying to get some of that pressure.
Yeah, here comes the charge, trying to find the Kindred for the tower take, but the TP is available. They're going to turn it right back onto Malachor there. There's the Scatter of the Week. There is the unleashed power, unleashing hell upon the Annie there. But Malachor does find the trade kill onto Myers and lives with the remount. A shutdown going down there. Myers was able to at least pick up a third mark there on the top lane, as well as the tower. So getting close finally to that 4-mark breakpoint here at 28 minutes. If the Kindred were to be further ahead, you'd imagine it might be a little bit better of a game for Mint here. But ultimately, it's going to be the 1-for-1 trade there in the top lane. Malachor continuing to push down. Bingo trying to ward them off. The rest of the team trying to continue to apply pressure.
Yeah, it's only a 5,000 gold lead, which is kind of surprising, being 17 versus 17. Although, with all these objectives, that's going to lead you to the gold lead that you have. And we can't forget about some of the farm leads that we have in top and in the bot with a 70 difference in the farm. Amok's not quite able to execute some of that early pressure, losing their tower early on. The early game is bleeding into the mid and late game here, which has been transforming how this game has been played throughout this series.
Yeah, and now with Baron coming up in 20, looks like Leviathan is there and ready to pounce. We saw how quickly that objective was exploded on that first take. It is going to be Annie taking a lot of damage once again, but now Myers is going to be found out by Malachor, getting pulled in by the Bear Trap on the road. Malachor now forced to ult out with the Unstoppable, is going to get dismounted. The
The
Gale Force
Gale
auto not quite enough to finish off. Amox just does not have the damage at this point in the game, but at least Kindred is going to be forced to take a base here that will give some space back to the members of Mint Gaming to start looking at this objective. Kindred is going to start the Baron autos it, but Baron is returning a lot of damage here. Both teams jostling for position. Macros that may be getting collapsed on by the members of these two teams, but no, rather, now it's Inigo getting turned on by the rest of Sun Leviathan. Macro Beast here with so much damage on these feathers. The Zaya just putting down the hurt onto this Cho'Gath. Kled has arrived back at the fight, ready to fight full on HP. Nigo Montoya's here on the Cho'Gath, getting very low, does have the Feast available and does have the Teleport available to join in back on the fight in a healthy manner if they do need to do so. Teams maybe collapsing down onto this dragon now spawning in 45 seconds, thinking maybe they will trade soul for Baron. I mean, it's likely that Leviathan will be able to take it in that space of time, but just taking a base for the moment, getting ready for another engagement.
Yeah, Kraken and Lord Dominic's dominating Montoya there, doing a lot of damage, shredding the tank that he is, and being he wasn't able to get some of that gold, he's going to be dying a little bit faster than he normally would be here. It looks like this Hex Gate is being utilized here, trying to get some of those buys, the backs, a setup for some vision, possibly get a pick here and get the soul. The soul could be enough to change how this game goes. The slow with a Mox is basically like a free Storm Razor and is able to just run you down, get some of this pick. And of course, Myers is able to follow up with some of those chases with the mad hops that he has.
Yeah, the Caitlyn trapline is set up on the top side, but that is just going to make Sun Leviathan swing right back around to the bot side. It is sole point for the members of Myth Gaming, but here comes the charge. It's going to be soaked up immediately by the Cho'Gath. The stun nicely going onto Macro Beast. A lot of damage turning back onto Malachor, but on the backside, it is Bingo going down to Spies. That's the shutdown going onto the Syndra. A giant feather pull is going to take the members of Myth Gaming to perilously low HP, and there is all of the members going down. A clean ace coming out from Sun Leviathan. They say that they want this game and the series. They're going to take it. Ace coming out, 5 members pushing down straight down mid, 30-minute timers. That game is going to be over.
Yeah, Macro using Cleanse just to flex here. The death timer sitting over 20 seconds isn't going to be enough to protect the Nexus coming from here. It's been beautifully played by both sides, but it looks like the game is going to be going over to Leviathan, being the beast primordial that they are, despite not having Cho'Gath on their side.
Yeah, ultimately the advantage was too much. Spies finding a beautiful counter engage there onto Bingo, burning down that Syndra, the crucial catalyst of all of these picks. And for the rest of the team, well, it's just Macro Beast and Malachor charging in, making the team fight happen. Sun Leviathan takes it 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1. Excellently played by both teams. Of course, Bingo only dying once in the entire series and doing the most damage. They were able to get a lot of picks out throughout this series and enable a lot of their teams. They are certainly going to be the ace for me through this series, although they weren't able to necessarily get some of the picks that they wanted on Azir. Still doing fairly well in this set. And of course, Myers doing remarkably well as well on the losing side of this exchange. And of course, Melkor V was able to turn things around pretty well, and Spias was able to change some of those fights as well throughout the series.
Yeah, a lot of great individual plays coming out from both of these teams in the series. Definitely was a very fun one to watch. A lot of explosive team fights coming across, back and forth advantages across the map for these teams. A great comeback mounted by Mint in game one, but Leviathan closing it out cleanly in games 2 and 3. So congrats on them for taking the series, and thank you all for joining us in this playoffs match.
Yeah, it was very exciting. We'll have to see you next week in the next games to be coming up through this series. We'll have to see who wins. This is going to be pushing over to probably the semifinals at this point in the series.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks once again for joining us tonight. We hope you have a great rest of the night. We hope this game was as fun for you all to watch as it was for us to cast, and we'll see you next time.